fully removed from the MK party's parliamentary list.
The agreement that we have with the MK party has disappointed so many Christians, and that relationship, I mean, it's 10 months down the line that we have actually endorsed Jacob Zuma as the face of the campaign, which we did successfully. It was in Soweto. I think you were there. And on that ground, when we were finished with that process, after the elections, we saw the first batch of the expulsion of the letters that we received. And it caught us by surprise. So the MK party has got a responsibility to say that they must come and respond or tell the nation what went wrong between AAAM and the MK party.
Meanwhile, MK party spokesperson Tlamulo Ndlela says they have noted the matter and will soon respond accordingly. The South African Football Association President Denny Jordan and two co-accused are appearing at the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court sitting in Palm Ridge Magistrate Court east of Johannesburg after being arrested this morning. They are facing charges of fraud and theft amounting to 1.3 million rand. Jordan allegedly used the SAFA funds to appoint a communications company to improve his image after former ANC Member of Parliament Jennifer Ferguson accused him of rape. The arrests come after an intensive investigation by the Serious Commercial Crime Investigation Unit into the allegations. The lead investigator in the Senzo Mayiwa murder trial, Brigadier Bongani Gininda, has read out text messages between sisters Kelly and Zandile Kumalo. He says his conclusion, based on some of the messages, is that Kelly wanted to get rid of Mayiwa. The messages are from December 2013, a year before Mayiwa was shot and killed at Kelly's parental home in Vosloorus on Gauteng's East Rand. 5 men are on trial for the murder of the Bafana Bafana captain. Gininda is currently on the stand under cross-examination by the defense.
The text reads as follows: I'm emotionally drained. I sometimes feel that sense of brought a dark cloud in my life, and I can almost hate myself for not succeeding in getting rid of him. I feel like God is deliberately sabotaging me by keeping this man in my life. I can't wait for the day he is no longer in my heart. All I can do is hope and pray that each day I am getting closer to my day of being free from him.
Public sector labour unions are currently consulting with their members on the latest government's wage offer of 4.7%. The country's organised labour has been engaged in wage negotiations with the employer at the Public Sector Coordinating Bargaining Council ahead of the 2025 financial year. Public sector workers had initially demanded a 12% salary increase, but have now revised their demand to 7.5%, while government is offering 4.7%. The Public Servants Association's Claude Naker says the majority of their members have already rejected the latest offer.
The employer came back and indicated that it cannot table anything further than the 4.7%. When we left the council meeting, it was indicated that unions will go back to their constituencies and engage on the members and see whether the 4.7% is feasible. As far as the Public Servants Association is concerned, we have mandated our members, and those members that participated in the process, almost 70% of them have rejected the 4.7%. We will call for the Public Service Bargaining Council to resume wage talks and present our findings to say that we reject the offer.
In international news, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has called for real and extended pauses in fighting in Gaza so that humanitarian aid can reach people who need it. Blinken was speaking as Washington said it would continue sending Israel military support despite a U.S. deadline on getting more aid into Gaza. He added that Israel had accomplished the goals it set itself and the war should now end.
We're starting to see the implementation of most of the steps that we've laid out. It will take some time for them to have an effect. And again, they have to be fully implemented, they have to be sustained. But even with that, I think it's essential that we see things like more extended pauses.
Recapping the top story, the All African Alliance movement is taking the Umkhonto weSizwe party to court over the expulsion and breach of a contractual agreement. I am Ondilambana for SAFM News. Headlines at 3:30.
And coming up in your sports this hour, PSL celebrates Kaiser Motaung and gifts him 2 million rand. Proteas aim for better performance against India, and BJK Cup opening day postponed due to extreme weather. More details at 3:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Only the team that plays the best cricket on the day will enjoy the last laugh. South Africa and India are both hungry to wrap the T20 International Series on the highest possible note. What a summer without cricket! Do not miss out on the fourth and final T20 International battle between South Africa and India on Friday, 15 November at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and 4 p.m. on Radio 2000 with reports on various SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The cost of living crisis is real. Here's what one OUTsurance client did about it.
I'm Amy. I'm 26 from Kenilworth. When I got my 2022 Ford EcoSport, the immediate thought was to buy an OUTsurance, and I pay only 819 Rand per month. No insurers were able to beat or match the premium that I'm currently paying.
Want a car insurance premium that will blow your mind? SMS out to 30754 now for a quote and to find out about included benefits like panic assistance that sends the nearest medical or armed response unit to you wherever you may be 24/7. Here's Yusuf.
45 years old from Tegendal, Western Cape. I pay 700 Rand for my Polo 1.6 2021 model. If you haven't called OUTsurance yet, definitely get in touch.
Give it a go. SMS out to 30754 now. That's out to 30754. OUTsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and limits apply. Premiums are risk profile dependent and reviewed annually. Client comments do not constitute financial advice.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, you know the drill. If it's 3 o'clock every day, it means it's time for the National Pulse. My name is Ashraf Garda. I'm really grateful that you are connected to the show. And stay, well, if you can, 3 hours, because that's what we'll do, talking about some of the biggest issues in the country and the biggest issues outside the country, things that impacts nationally as well as globally, right? So lots to consider, and always I'll ask you this question just for you to reflect on, right? What for you moves the National Pulse today? Any thoughts? What moves the National Pulse? Right, your thoughts are welcome. Go ahead, call 086 000 2032. WhatsApp, you can do it in text or voice note form, 0614104107. You can also post comments on our social media pages. On the X platform, just tweet us, as well as on Facebook. You can do that, just tag SAFM Radio. Do tag me as well, Ashraf Garda. All right, lots to consider. One of the biggest issues we will talk about later on as well is the ongoing issue around township businesses, but to broaden the conversation around maybe getting 2 or 3 different considerations around it, possibly speaking to NAFCOC, and we'll certainly speak to Tammy Mazwai later on about what he thinks about how should South Africa's township economies be reshaped. So looking forward to that conversation. Now, while we consider all of that, I'll tell you what, the country, our neighbors, Mozambique, well, that country is being reshaped, right? We've had an election, we know that, we spoke about it. There's also been an uproar over the fact that the Frelimo party won control, although many people believe they should have not had that convincing a victory as they've had this time around. As a result, there's been protests in that country. There's been borders between the two countries, our country and Mozambique, shut down. And that's a big thought on that, right? So we'll chat about NAFCOC later on, but let's get to the Mozambican issue as part of our Global Watch story. Milton Maluleke gives us an update regarding the ongoing post-election protests in that country. Remember, the presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane has called for a new 3-day period of national demonstrations in all the capitals of that country. So what is the story? What's the position now? What happens next? Milton, good of you to connect with us. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon, SAFM listeners. What is happening in Mozambique after the elections on the October 19th? Results came out, and Venancio Mondlane, one of the presidential candidates, refused those results, saying that he won the elections. So from there, he actually called for these massive strikes that we had a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and the phase 3 was the one that actually there was an attempt to reach to the we call this site red. We can say Red House, like that is the same like Union Buildings in South Africa. So that attempt failed last week. So now he just launched the fourth phase that started today, and it will go up to Friday. So the main targets are the port, actually the borders, and also the capital of all capital cities of all the 11 provinces of Mozambique. The border that we now know that is closed is the main one, that is Lebombo border, is the largest one for Mozambique. Is the one that is closed. Earlier in the morning, the protesters, they decided to actually to take the keys of 2 trucks and leave the trucks right there blocking the road. They managed actually to negotiate with them and then to take out those trucks, and they decided actually to make the human barricades so that the trucks cannot enter or leave South Africa. So that is the main movement that is happening, but this time around it's not violent comparing to the other phases that we had.
Okay, so understand all of that. What then, especially now with this latest 3-day stay away call, right? What is the end goal here from the opposition? What do they want?
What actually they want is the electoral justice, the way they say it, because they are saying that the numbers that they were presented, or actually the win of Daniel Chapo, that is the presidential candidate for Frelimo, and actually the Frelimo also, they don't agree with the numbers that they are there, because they are saying that they have not only Venancio Mondlane, even the other parties, are those actually who came out actually saying that indeed it was Venancio who won, like the one in the previous legislation, that they were the third main force in the parliament, MDM. Actually, they came out actually saying that yes, who won was Venancio Mondlane, and they are rallying. Actually, they are doing those strikes also to have this electoral justice. It's the same also with Renamo, that doesn't agree with those numbers, and they are saying that they want electoral justice. So now we are waiting for the Constitutional Court to validate or invalidate those elections. Actually, they are now taking a lot of days. They were supposed to present those numbers last week, but we don't know which reason they're actually keeping on postponing. And meanwhile, they are postponing, the strikes are still going on.
So when you say electoral justice, am I right in assuming electoral justice especially for the now dominant opposition party, right, would actually mean regime change and nothing less than that?
Yes, it's what they are saying. They are actually saying that they want change. They want to change. They're advocating the change. They are saying that they won those elections. It's a time for Frelimo actually to step down. Remember that after a few days after the elections, Venancio Mondlane on his Facebook Live, he came out saying that he actually even created a cabinet, a transitional cabinet that will negotiate with the Frelimo the terms of them leaving the power before the Electoral Commission announced the results. So which means that they are saying that they were doing a parallel counting of votes. So that's why they saw that they are winning those elections. Actually, there's something very interesting that Venancio Mondlane did on the third phase of elections. He called out Daniel Chapo, saying that yes, they're saying that you won with the 70% of the votes. So come out, make your rallies so that we can see the number of supporters that you have, if indeed you had that support. And then he said that it's unbelievable how someone with the 20% can actually do what he's doing, which means that indeed I won the elections, they stole my votes, is what he actually is saying.
Okay, that's so interesting. Now, you've told me about the wish list. What do you think is likely to happen?
Well, now the calls that are coming out actually is to have peace negotiations. Is what actually a lot of can be leaders from churches and others from civil society are actually saying that now is the time for Frelimo to sit down and negotiate for peace, not using the arrogance and the silence, because it's not helping. So they're saying that it's the time that, for example, we had a married bishop of Anglican Church, Bishop Dinesh Singulane, who actually was one of the ones who negotiated for the peace agreement over the years. So he came out with Renamo, in this case, the government and Renamo. He actually spoke yesterday saying that it's the time actually for dialogue. So it's the dialogue that actually can help actually to overcome this tension of this situation that Mozambique is having right now.
All right.
Because the silence won't help.
Well, when you talk about dialogue, I mean, maybe two things there. One is, where does South Africa and where does SADC fit in with regard to dialogue? Is that happening?
Well, we heard that Zimbabwe will host this week the summit.
Okay, I think we've just lost our guest for that moment. It's a huge pity. I can just say this, man. Okay, we do have you back on the line, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I was saying that what they are saying right now is that they have to have those negotiations. Is the only way that actually to secure actually to have the peace right now in Mozambique. So we are expecting that to happen in the coming days. So it's what we are actually willing to see if indeed the parties or Frelimo will have this kind of agreement of sitting with them.
Okay, so while those negotiations take place, when they do, in the meantime, the commander of the police of Mozambique said this, and I'm talking about Bernardino Rafael, right? He said it is urgent to say enough to the violent demonstrations that tend to sabotage major projects that the country achieved during independence and that are the hope of the next generation. Do you find that statement is heavily politically loaded?
It is heavily political loaded, and it's intimidating. They are intimidating is how the things are. And the youth right now that is striking, they are showing that they are not scared or they are not afraid of those kind of threats. What they want is to have this electoral justice, and the youth are out actually in numbers saying that they want changes because they are suffering. They don't have jobs. They don't have a good living conditions or so on. So when the commander comes out with that kind of speech, it actually generates it makes actually the young people actually getting angry and want actually to retaliate.
Yes.
So what they want actually is to for the first time, because there are people who are saying that maybe it's a time for Frelimo to come out and ask forgiveness and say, sorry, we didn't actually manage to do this and that. Maybe that can help actually to reconcile the society.
Well, maybe that's not likely to happen today, isn't it? Let's leave it at that, Milton. Milton Malulekere, senior journalist based in Mozambique. It's a huge concern, as we know, and again, what happens next door does impact what happens in South Africa. So what do you think? What's the solution regarding the problems of Mozambique? Do you have an opinion on this? I'd like to get your thoughts. So do it. Get it off your chest. 0614 104 107. Let's talk about that. Text or voice note, or to call 086 000 2032. We're going to talk to NAFCOC in a moment. They have a vision regarding South Africa's township economy. Right after this.
Only the team that plays the best cricket on the day will enjoy the last laugh. South Africa and India are both hungry to wrap the T20 International Series on the highest possible note. What a summer without cricket! Do not miss out on the fourth and final T20 International battle between South Africa and India on Friday, 15 November at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and 4 p.m. on Radio 2000 with reports on various SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
My name's Michael Fontaine. I'm 16. I have difficulty paying attention in class, so I fell behind. That's why my parents moved me to UCT Online High School. I can't thank them enough. Their flexible learning means I can take classes when it suits me, so I get ahead and stay ahead. Visit uctonlinehighschool.com to learn more. Applications close 29 November 2024.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom, reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Center. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
I tell you what, something I've spoken about before, and I've said, if the township economy issue is not resolved by some sort of a consultative forum, we have a far bigger problem than we may think, right? Now, interestingly enough, on that basis, the NAFCOC has joined in the conversation. NAFCOC is the National Federation of the Chambers of Commerce, and they have a position regarding, township economies and spaza shops. Let's find out what are they thinking and proposing. Richard Zulu with me, Secretary General of NAFCOC, in fact. Richard, thanks for connecting to the National Pulse. Richard Zulu, do I have you there? Okay, I think we'll try and sort him out and get him on reconnected in just a moment or so. Let's see what the issues are. In the meantime, there's some voice notes we will pick up. Let me also just tell you, we'll be chatting. Yes, I should tell you this. We'll be chatting to Karen Moon around 10 to 4 on her new book called I Will Not Be Silenced. And by the way, Danny Jordan, he's appeared in court today. Well, he's on allegations of fraud. He's been granted a 20,000 rand bail, okay? And we'll follow up on that story as well as soon as we can. Right, Karen Moon coming up around 10 to 4. Don't miss that, right? I think we do have Richard Zulu on the line now. Richard, you there? Richard, you there?
Good day, my colleague, and good day to SAFM listeners.
Thank you, Richard. Right, you understand NAFCOC has a position regarding the township economy and with regard to spaza shops. What is that position?
Yes, thanks for having a radio platform. Our position is that spaza shop businesses must be taken back to local communities and be controlled by our communities. That's our position. And as in our endeavor to achieve that, we are engaging all stakeholders. We started engaging SANCO, we engaged your Operation Tudula, we engaged Contralesa, we engage in all motive forces so that we ensure that these businesses are taken back to our local communities.
Okay, firstly, help us understand this. Why is it important to NAFCOC that, as what you call it, these businesses must be taken back to the local communities? Why is it important? Help us understand it.
Yes, you see, over time, we realized that our people have been displaced. Remember, spaza shops was a concept that was started by our own communities and members of NAFCO. And over time, people were displaced by these foreign nationals. How we allowed them to displace our people is another issue. But they were displaced, and these people will target families that are poor, households that are run by elderly people, and promise them big monies, and then get into the space and run businesses. And whenever they are operating, they make sure that they displace our local people. So for that reason, we believe that this business should go back to our people. We realize over time that it is even getting worse now because our communities and children in particular are being exposed and exposed to foodborne illnesses. We've seen that, and we've seen foodborne illnesses claiming life.
Okay, but I just want to get clarity on this. I mean, we've been speaking about these food airborne illnesses that are caused by bad foods, and I think that is clearly that's a serious health issue, right?
Yes.
And it must take its course because it can't be allowed to continue. But are you saying the regaining of the township economy by the locals with regard to spaza shops, that must happen whether the foreign nationals are selling healthy foods or whether they're selling expired foods? That means what I'm saying, it doesn't really matter. You want the locals to be able to regain that economy. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yes, and also not only that, we were very happy that the President of the Republic, Cyril Ramaphosa, urged the law enforcement agencies to regulate and come up with and enhance oversight over spaza shop by corporate governance and traditional affairs corps. Minister Velonkosi Shadi has also came up with regulations that will enhance their oversight over spaza shop ownership. And we also welcomed the pronouncement by the Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, when he said also he's going to ensure that bylaws are enforced in the province. So that in itself, it is a bit comfortable. We don't want foreigners to continue to own these spaza shops when they are not compliant with the law.
Why do you think these bylaws have not been enforced up to now?
Well, I think government was left to the issue of spaza shops, we must be honest. And, some of us have been crying for why is it that the government is not implementing its own bylaws? We're happy that now there's a realization that these bylaws are very important and they must be implemented and there must be an oversight over them. We're also talking to Tiger Brands.
Okay, we may just have lost the guest once again. It's a huge pity. Richard Zulu, the Secretary General of NAFCOC. Let me see if I can get keys to get him back online in the minute or so before we get to the news. In the meantime, there's a comment regarding for Mozambique.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It is at times like this that everyone can see that SADC and AU are toothless dogs. They must intervene in Mozambique. People are dying. The situation is dire. What are they doing? Thank you very much. Peter Maila Machaba from Leswata.
Okay, Peter certainly saying, well, I must also tell you that I want to see that level of intervention, isn't it? Shouldn't it?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. My name is Elfas Ngobo here in KwaZulu-Natal. While I applaud Danny Jordan's arrest, I do it cautiously so. The jury is out as to whether the Hawks have a watertight case or not. But on the other hand, our football leadership needs a total overhaul. New brains who are capable to take our football to another level. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you. Well, I think I agree with that. Taking football to another level, you just wonder how long can the current situation continue. So we can't get hold of Richard Zulu. Clearly, we're going to have to stop that conversation, which is a pity, because I certainly wanted to ask him, if you want to regain the township economy, what then do you do with existing foreign nationals who are trading there legally at this point in time? What do you do with them practically? I don't know, because, he couldn't tell us, right, because of the time, because of the lines dropping. But he did say this in terms of the official statement, right? And I think this is important to understand. Richard Zulu emphasized the importance of involving directly affected stakeholders in the broader conversation around solutions to the current crisis. And I'm quoting, he says, "It is vital for the voices of those impacted by these issues to be heard as we work towards solutions that will benefit the community." Right, so that's that for now. And then saying, for too long we have been marginalized in South Africa's formal business sectors. Even the sponsor shop concept pioneered by our communities has been taken over and turned against us. Now, what we'll do is we're going to get Tami Mazwai to give us his thoughts on the township economy and sponsor shops after 5 o'clock. So listen out for that. In the meantime, let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela Imbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the news headlines, the SAFA president, Denny Jordan, and 2 co-accused have been granted 20,000 rand bail each by the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court. The All-African Alliance movement is taking the Umkhonto we Sizwe party to court over the expulsion and breach of a contractual agreement, and the city of Tshwane has welcomed this SIU investigation into the 400 million rand tender for the installation of CCTV camera. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Witkoppen Road in Fourways has a crash reported at Cedar Road. The R55 southbound in Kailami has a crash reported at Allendale Road, and Pretoria Street westbound in Pretoria has delays towards N Street. In KZN, on the N3, an earlier truck crash recovery near Van Reenen Town has been cleared, but there's still heavy traffic both ways. The N2 southbound is slow moving towards Spaghetti Junction. The N3 westbound, an earlier crash recovery after Pavilion Mall exit has been cleared, and Umgeni Road westbound is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound queuing towards Rhodes Drive. The M5 southbound is slow moving towards Racecourse Road exit. Victoria Road outbound is slow moving through Woodstock, and Main Road is slow moving in the Cork Bay area. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, there's soccer in the news, but there's also cricket on the go, right?
Absolutely. The Proteas are in action today, and all-rounder Marco Jansen says that they can do better with the bat in hand in the third T20 against India at Centurion Park tonight at 5 p.m. South Africa leveled the 4-match series 1-1 at St. George's Oval in Gqeberha on Sunday with a 3-wicket win after losing the series opener by 61 runs at Kingsmead in Durban last Friday. And Jansen believes that the wicket at Centurion Park provides more bounce than spin, and therefore they will do better today. In football, Premier Soccer League chairman Dr. Irvin Khoza has given Kaizer Motaung a 2 million rand gift for his contribution to the development of football in the country. In tribute at the start of the organization's general meeting in Sandton today, Khoza honored Motaung for his leadership as someone who played a pivotal role in the formation of the PSL. Motaung celebrated his 80th birthday just last month. Meanwhile, the PSL general meeting is underway at Sandton Convention Centre, and Khoza will be re-elected unopposed as chairman for his 6th term, and a new executive committee will also be voted for. Then Banyana coach Desiree Ellis believes that Mamelodi Sundowns ladies will bounce back after their opening match defeat in the CAF Women's Champions League in Morocco on Sunday. The Brazilians lost 1-0 to debutante FC Massar of Egypt, a result that sent shockwaves throughout the entire tournament. Now, Sundowns ladies are back in action this afternoon to resurrect their campaign when they face CBE FC of Ethiopia at 4 p.m. And Ellis says that Jerry Shabalala's Chargers have enough quality to return to winning ways.
Knowing the quality that Sundowns bring, and as defending champions, of course it was a shocking result. It was a result that nobody expected. But once again, You know, they had so many opportunities, so many opportunities where they could have sealed the game in the first half. You know, I think Procedure only had to face a penalty, and that was the outcome, the 1-0. They have a chance to bounce back, and they have to obviously get 3 points in the next game. Very, very important. The rest is not in their hands at the moment, but getting 3 points and then having to win the last game, it makes it extremely difficult, but I think they can bounce back, definitely. They have the quality, they have the depth within their group, and as I said, they've been here before. They just got to take the opportunities.
Wishing them nothing but the best. Then moving on to rugby, Andre Esterhuizen says that he's looking forward to running at former Harlequins teammate Marcus Smith when the Springboks tackle England at Twickenham on Saturday. The Springbok midfielder enforcer spent 4 seasons playing alongside Smith in England, with the duo combining to help the Harlequins win the Premiership in 2021. Saturday night's match will see Esterhuizen, who came back to the Sharks in September, return to Twickenham and come up against England's backline magician for the first time in his career. Then in basketball, Steph Curry registered 37 points as the Golden State Warriors beat the Dallas Mavericks 120 to 117 in the NBA Cup on Klay Thompson's return to the Chase Center. The 36-year-old scored the Warriors' final 12 points, including a superb three-pointer to make it 118 to 114 as he continued his fine start to the season. Thompson scored 22 points as he made his first return to the Bay Area after ending his 13-year stint with the Warriors to join the Mavericks last summer. Then finally in tennis, the Billie Jean King Cup finals in Malaga, which were due to begin today, were postponed after Spanish authorities issued a red weather alert for extreme rain and flooding in parts of the country 2 weeks after the worst floods in Spain's modern history killed more than 200 people, and thousands have been evacuated from southern of Spain as the new weather front is expected to bring rain and low temperatures. The tie will take place on Friday starting at 10 a.m. On that note, it is a wrap from my side. I'll have more in the next hour.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
That's 2 million rands to Kaiser Motaung. It's interesting. I mean, Danny Jordan's got his own problems, right? Yeah. Kaiser Motaung, 2 million rands for recognition for good services, effectively. Is that from the PSL or SAFA? That would be SAFA.
No, I think it's from the PSL, the NEC, because
Okay.
my understanding is that Dr. Irvin Khoza, before he handed over the check or the gift, he was saying, can the NEC members allow me to gift Kaiser Motaung with his 2 million rand to go spoil himself?
So what do you think of that? Which is not the same thing. Interesting is being kind, man. I mean, you could say fantastic. I'm saying that's not the same thing as saying acknowledge him for the massive contribution him and his club, Kaiser Chiefs, have done and contributed to South African football. There's no question about
They're
that.
talking about him specifically.
Yeah, but I mean, he is his club. I mean, they're synonymous.
What are you asking?
I'm asking, how do you give someone 2 million rands who actually runs and owns a football club? Like, I'm trying to see where's the value? Like, 2 million rands?
Listen, this is money being exchanged between friends.
Okay, let me now keep quiet. Then you could give an exclusive book voucher or something along that line. Not at all. Well, what do you think? I mean, seriously, here's a question to you, and I don't understand it. I'm saying to you, acknowledge him, honor him, celebrate him, lifetime. In fact, I'd love to actually have him, Danny Jordan. Not Danny, I'm talking about Kaiser Motaung as a fireside chat guest. I'll tell you something, I would be most honored. But I'm saying to you is that at this age, in terms of who he is, in terms of what he's achieved, and I think there's relative wealth within the club and himself, what difference does the 2 million rand make to him? But what difference does the 2 million rand make if it does not go to him and it goes elsewhere? I mean, just think about something around development in his name. I don't know. I'm rather puzzled, and I'm therefore saying, educate me. I just need to understand what's right about giving him the 2 million rands.
The SAFM playwriting competition is back. After receiving hundreds of entries last year from South African writers of different ages and ethnic groups sharing their stories, now the time is yours. It's your story. You decide. SAFM invites all writers to explore the medium of sound, the theatre of the mind, and to create a 1-hour radio play in English. Get writing now and submit your play before the 3rd of February 2025 for a chance to win one of 3 large cash prizes. For more information, visit safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Call us on 086 000 2032.
Okay, let's get well, I certainly want your opinion about that Kaiser Motaung story, but not just that, certainly everything else, including the goings-on in Mozambique and the conversation I had with NAFCOC regarding the township economies. It's a big deal, and we need to resolve that, isn't it?
I think it's better to apply an old way, because of that way we were used to. We know that our child will be placed where we want to. So now this online thing, they choose for us, they force us. You know what, they can't even help us. We went to district, but it's no help. So we need this thing to end, please. We still have young kids that are coming. We still have to struggle like this way again. So we can't take it anymore. This online thing is a no-no.
Well, you know, you put a very important issue about applying online. I think it can be very, very frustrating, and I can hear your position. And South Africa has got multiple economies. It really has. It's a very developed economy and a very developing economy. And for people who have no access to Wi-Fi and other forms of connectivity, they struggle. Having said that, the way the world is going now, I've just come through from Wits University. They've converted the planetarium into a whole new digital hub. And other places I've been to, I'm attending a conference next week around digital. Believe me, even your children, if they don't embrace the digital age, they're going to be left. It's almost like you can't read, okay? Salo in Mokopane, go ahead on Kaiser Motaung.
Yeah, Ashraf. Look, I think we just have to get hold of the PSL so that they can come and clarify it before we come up with stories. How is this 2 million is going to be sent to Kaiser Motaung? I think it will be fair. Let's try not to be gossipers. Talon can just get hold of them and then put them ready and then clarify, and then we go on with our lives. Because there will be stories what is happening without getting the correct answer from the correct people. That's my take, Ashraf.
Okay, well, I think that's fair comment. And that's why I'm saying I don't know either, because that's why I'm asking the question. I don't know. And I'd love us to know. And maybe I'm going to get Tumi just to follow up a little bit more to say what exactly is the position regarding that money. And then we can express further comments. Salo, thanks for that call. Much appreciated, right? Well, that's one issue. Now, the other has got to be the issue of considerations that the National Treasury may soon introduce a wealth tax. So if you've got too much money, you're going to have to pay a wealth tax, as they are currently pondering their options on the matter. The department will also examine the data on the levels of wealth in the country to see if this will be implementable. So let's get an opinion on this. Well, COSATU certainly has one. Matthew Parks is COSATU's parliamentary coordinator. Matthew, I appreciate your time and thanks for connecting to the National Pulse.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, I mean, how far down the line are we with this wealth tax proposal?
I think the principle is that everybody must pay tax, and the tax system should be biased towards those who earn the least, and those who earn the least should pay the least, and those who earn the most should pay the most as well in terms of tax. It's a key tool to help redistribute income and wealth, and we are the most unequal nation in the world. And it's also critical to ensure the state has got the resources it needs to provide quality public services that working class communities, the poor, depend upon. But look, we already have the elements of a wealth tax in place. Really, the simplest way to do it is just simply to take our existing tax regime to make sure that the wealthy pay their fair share by eliminating tax loopholes, which often the wealthy are able to hire fancy accountants and lawyers and to exploit and abuse those. But also we have about 4 main components which we think can achieve the objective. One is you have income tax. You've got 6 income tax bands. The wealthy are obviously in the top ones, to increase those ones to a higher percentage. Often the wealthy inherit huge amounts of money from the deceased relatives, so you look at inheritance tax. You look at estate duties as well, because again the wealthy have these large estate portfolios, and there's some money you can get there. So these are tools that internationally have been used by many other industrial democracies to make sure the wealthy pay their fair share. And also, Ashraf, wealthy people often import very luxury items from overseas luxury goods. Working class people are not buying Porsche Cayennes, for example, or yachts. So we do think there is a need to have a higher import duty for those luxury goods, because working class people don't buy them, the wealthy do. And again, that's about also ensuring the wealthy do pay a little bit more to help the state provide for the poor.
But I mean, do you really think that, and there is this balancing act between clearly the wealthy must pay more. I think we all agree with that, right? And in fact, they do so, whether it's in their personal capacity or whether it's through their companies. They do that anyway, notwithstanding your point about, fancy accountants, right? But how do you get the balance right between taxing the wealthy even more to the point where, disillusionment with them sets in on the one hand, and at the same time ensuring that they also thrive, but that when you do tax them, that the monies go in the right places, because that is another big issue, isn't it?
No, it is. And look, I mean, that's part of the reason that you also have to use what you collect rationally, fairly. You should not be, squandering money through corruption, wasteful expenditure, etc. But the one doesn't cancel the other one out. But yes, you got to do both. Yes, you do have to reach a certain balance, because if you go too far, then other people will just simply pack their bags and move overseas, or they'll just invest more on fancy accountants who will find ways of squirreling money to tax havens elsewhere. So it is about getting the right balance. But we shouldn't also always assume that the tax regime as it is right now is fair. One of the things when we had discussion on the two-part pension reforms is that the tax rate before the reforms came into effect, it treated everybody the same. It treated a clothing worker who doesn't pay income tax because she earns too little the same as you would treat the CEO of a multi-billion rand company. So we do need to examine all of our tax regimes and make sure that, are they really progressive? Are they really biased towards the poor, and making sure the wealthy pay their fair share? So we do think there is some work to do more.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, talking to you in particular, because of course you're a labor organization, and one of the big issues has been the fact that 32% or so, thereabouts, 31% of people are officially unemployed. It comes to about 45% when it comes to the youth. This is as per yesterday's results, right? Now, I think if government is saying, whether it's government or whether it's SARS, saying that we need to earn more tax revenue to be able to service deliver, I think we're all on side on that. But there are two things happening that's preventing that besides the wealth tax part. One is a lot of the monies earned by SARS then reallocated to different divisions by Treasury. That gets misused. It's been well documented. I don't expect you to answer that, but that's the truth. The second part is the high numbers of people unemployed in fact prevents them becoming taxpayers. Shouldn't that focus be on that, in terms of, if the reason is we need to increase the tax base, increase growth amongst the unemployed, so that they will then one day pretty soon pay taxes?
No, that's exactly the point we were making with Treasury. The fundamental crisis we have right now is a stagnant economy, is a 41.9% expanded unemployment rate. You've got to deal with those issues, because if you can grow the economy, you can create businesses, you can get people working, they will generate the company, the income, the VAT and other taxes that the state requires to fund public services. So you do have to stimulate the economy. But again, we've got to deal with multiple crises simultaneously. And I think that's been kind of the point we've been saying, that look, we can't pick and choose which one to deal with, which one not to deal with. The other important part of the debate, which often gets neglected, is that SARS is doing well. The president has appointed a competent commissioner, competent management. They filled critical frontline vacancies. They've invested in the institution's IT infrastructure capacity. And we're seeing a boost in tax compliance from 61% to 64%. And we've been pushing the issue that, look, at times you don't even need to really chase many new taxes. At times what we also do need to do is to enforce existing taxes. Because often you find people just ignore the taxes, or they find fancy accountants who can show them the loopholes. But the point is that you are paying tax as a worker. Somebody else isn't paying tax. And right now we need to have a bit of tax morality and equality and fairness. Everybody's got to pay the taxes which are due. And again, if we've been raising with Parliament, with Treasury, with government, why don't we have a discussion with SARS to say, what do you need, what resources do you require to take us from a compliance tax rate of 64% to 70% over the next 2 years? Every 1% additional tax compliance you achieve is an extra 20 billion rand into the fiscus to make sure we can pay our teachers, we can hire nurses, we can secure our police stations, etc. And that's just existing taxes that are owed. And I think the point also is that 2/3 of society is paying their taxes, a third is getting away with murder. And it's time that we also make sure everybody does pay what is owed. And people might think it's only the poor, which is not true. We have seen many times very wealthy businessmen, billionaires, fighting with SARS. We've seen many wealthy companies finding fancy loopholes to get out of it. So I think for us, the immediate task really must be to be given all the resources SARS requires to enforce tax compliance, because that doesn't require new law. New taxes take about 2 years to come into effect. That's something the SARS can do tomorrow. So if you give Kitzvetter, the commissioner, a blank check, say, here's an additional 1 billion rand, get us an additional 15 or 20 billion rand in tax compliance, that's an investment that's well worth it. And there's an immediate reciprocal effect to the state. You reduce the deficit, you can fund hospitals, etc., the economic benefits and so forth. So we think we need to be a bit smart and a bit more focused at times.
Okay, let's leave it at that, Matthew Parks, the COSATU parliamentary coordinator. Maybe the other broader conversation, and it's happened before, not so much about wealth tax, but to have a one-off wealth tax that goes completely into development. And, we've spoken at length this week about townships, and I've spoken on other platforms about saying, how do we know South Africa is fully transformed when a township begins to resemble a suburb? And at the moment, you know this and I know this, it's very, very far from that. So should we have a one-off wealth tax? That's point one. The second one is someone has said, hey, should we not have a one-off white wealth tax? Going back to the issues of the TRC in terms of apartheid type of reparation. Should there be a one-off wealth tax that's completely ring-fenced for effectively narrowing the playing field that we so often talk about? I'd like to get your opinion on that. While we talk about that, Danny Jordan, well, he has his issues. We'll talk about him in a moment.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture, delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom. Reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Center. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, you certainly know the world of football changes when, maybe a while back, Danny Jordan in the news would always mean 2010 World Cup, isn't it? Remember, he played a huge role in not just helping South Africa win the World Cup bid, but also then managing it as the head of the local LOC, Local Organizing Committee. Well, things have changed. He was in court today. He was accused of misusing 1.3 million rands of SAFA funds, and the allegation is it was for personal gain. Now, the charges against Danny Jordan includes fraud, theft, and irregular using of SAFA funds to hire a communications company to manage his own image. Remember, he himself, there were allegations around rape against him, and he enlisted a public relations company to assist him in polishing up his image, and linked to that is these monies. Now, of course, it's unproven, so we can't say guilty, not at all. But let's find out what happened today, because I believe he's out on bail. Colonel Katlego Mogale is the spokesperson for the Hawks. Good chatting to you, Colonel Mogale. Hi.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Right, what happened today? Tell us.
Today, Mr. Jordan, or Dr. Jordan, was arrested and taken to court, where he was granted 20,000 bail, as well as his two co-accused.
Okay, now I understand that, and the bail was there much deliberation, or was it an easy granting of the bail? Certainly a well-known person in South Africa, in the world.
For us, it looks like some of the same cases that we have dealt with. There was no need for us to vigorously oppose bail, as these sessions also grant the people who are granted bail have conditions that go with them.
Okay, can you confirm what was he charged for?
He was charged for fraud as well as theft.
Okay. Were there any other comments that appeared? I know today was just the preliminary hearing, right? Anything else that came through in court today that you'd like to share with us?
At this stage, we are waiting for the where the docket will be disclosed to the defense.
Okay. I also understand that one of the things that Danny Jordan pleaded with was for his passport not to be taken away. Was that request granted?
Yes, his passport was not taken away for the fact that he has failed to use it as the incumbent, the president of SAFA, and in his diary there is something that has to be done, and he is supposed to also, although it was granted, he is supposed to report to the court before he departs the country.
And I take it in being granted you and you not opposing it, you don't see him as a flight risk then?
At this stage, we do not see him as a flight risk. Even when the situation of him being president changes, those conditions will be revisited as well.
Okay, let's leave it at that unless there's something else you need to add to the conversation.
No, there isn't.
Okay, much appreciate your time. There you are, Danny Jordan, out on bail, 20,000 rands, together with other co-accused as well, right? But around the issue, allegations of misuse, fraud, in terms of his very own work. But for now, he's been out on bail. He has a passport. He can continue to work and travel and leave the country, by the way, as per the need arises, okay? Let's get further comment from you on the Kaiser Motaung issue. I'm not too sure who this is from. It just says, in Cape Town. So hello, Cape Town. Hello. Right. In fact, what we'll do, we'll get to the voice notes first, and I'll get your calls. Let me just pick it up. Here's one from about Danny.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I think for Dr. Kaiser Motaung to avoid trouble, he should just donate that 2 million maybe into charity organizations, maybe divide it into 9 provinces. All provinces should benefit all charity organizations that are in all 9 provinces. I think that's the solution, just to avoid trouble.
I wonder whether you agree with that position. Right, here's another.
Ashraf is Chengele here from Cape Town. This 2 million gift by COSA to Kaiser Motaung, it leaves much to be desired. I think SIU must also investigate PSL and their bosses. I think there's a lot that is not going right in that institution.
Well, let's find out what the story is. I think we need to possibly get somebody from the PSL on board on this one. Yeah, Parky in Cape Town, you have a view on Kaiser Motaung, right?
I certainly do. Thank you so much, Ashraf, for taking my call. You know what, Ashraf? I heard earlier on when we had a discussion with the lady who was doing sports that there were so many questions that I wanted to ask. I felt that some of the asked questions. At the same time, I was thinking that you didn't. Maybe.
Yeah, Parky, we're absolutely struggling with listening to you. I'm so sorry, man. Let's see if Keith can sort out your sound, and maybe we'll get you back on, because I certainly want to know what you have to say. Right, Dintwe, if you're on the line, we'll get to you now. Dintwe in Tabancho, hi.
Afternoon, Ashraf.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
I'm disappointed by NAFCOC. NAFCOC is just like our government. They are reactionaries. These spaza shops and foreigners have been in South Africa for so many years. NAFCOC, and it has been here to protect township economy. They didn't do that. Now they are reacting. And on top of that, you know, the spaza shop that our people owned before the foreigners came in, they collapsed. Because as we township residents, we never supported those people. But now, when foreigners came in here, we supported the foreigners. So the problem is a two-sworded edge. It's a two-sword edge. So it's stick in this side, stick this side. So that's the problem that we are having. So, but NAFCOG, I'm really disappointed by this statement that they are making.
Okay, got that, didn't you? I tell you what, I think in many ways you may be spot on to say, whatever happened when the country attained democracy, what did we do to protect our local economy? We didn't do it with regard to textiles. Lots of the goods were imported from China with low tariffs or no tariffs, so the entire manufacturing, fabric manufacturing and garment manufacturing industry, particularly in the Western Cape, absolutely collapsed, gone, finished, okay? So you're right. I mean, I could be anybody, a rich foreign national, a poor foreign, it doesn't matter. You could be trying to hustle as anybody else would want to do for a living. But at the same time, what is the various economic structures within our country? What have they done to protect those economies, as you would call a township economy, in the first place? And you raise an important point. Paki, will get to you later on. Hopefully we'll connect on a better line in a moment. But 4 o'clock, it's time now for the news. Here's Zondela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. Top stories at 4. Jordan and co-accused released on bail, and All African Alliance movement takes MK party to court. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. SAFA President Denny Jordan and 2 co-accused have been granted 20,000 rand bail each by the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court sitting in Palmbridge, east of Johannesburg. Jordan, SAFA CFO Groni Hluyo and Trevor Nietling were arrested earlier today. They are facing charges of fraud and theft amounting to 1.3 million rand. Jordan allegedly used the SAFA funds to appoint a communications company to improve his image after the former ANC Member of Parliament Jennifer Ferguson accused him of rape. Magistrate Philip Venter granted them bail.
After all considered, the court is satisfied that indeed there is no reason to conclude anything other than the interest of justice will permit your release on bail. Pertaining to the quantum, first of all, I do not think that the quantum of bail suggested by the respondent is unreasonable. It appears to be achievable by all the applicants. All 3 the applicants can achieve the quantum of 20,000 rand, and as said, I don't think that is an unreasonable amount. The court will fix bail in the amount of 20,000 rand for each of you.
The All African Alliance movement is taking the Umkhonto weSizwe party to court over the expulsion and breach of a contractual agreement. According to the Organization of Church Leaders, the MK party failed to honor what it says is a legal agreement which stipulates that after May 2024 elections, the parties would share power. The matter will be heard on the 6th of next month. The movement Secretary General Bishop Meshek Debe added that their representatives were unlawfully removed from the MK party's parliamentary list.
The agreement that we have with the MK party has disappointed so many Christians. And that relationship, it's 10 months down the line that we have actually endorsed Jacob Zuma as the face of the campaign, which we did successfully. It was in Soweto. I think you were there. And on that ground, when we were finished with that process, after the elections, we saw the first batch of the expulsion of the letters that we received. And it caught us by surprise. So the MK party has got a responsibility to say that they must come and respond or tell the nation what went wrong between AAAM and the MK party.
Meanwhile, MK party spokesperson Dlamulo Ndlela says they have noted the matter and will soon respond accordingly. The old Johannesburg Planetarium has undergone a major refurbishment and has been transformed into the state-of-the-art digital dome. Mining giant Anglo American has spent 90 million rand to convert the planetarium's old analog technology into digital. Wits and Anglo American have made funds available for the dome to be accessible to the public. This will help learners and students enhance their abilities in different fields. Wits Vice Chancellor Zablon Vilakazi.
The planetarium is about the stars. It showed us stars and various constellations that we see at night. It brought the night sky closer to us. But this is different. This is beyond just astronomy. It covers areas as vast as anatomy. You could, through this deep immersive exercise, find yourself as a corpuscle navigating through the bloodstream as it enters various organs of the body.
The city of Tshwane has welcomed the SIU investigation into the 400 million tender for the installation of the CCTV camera. The 2024 CCTV project was intended to enhance crime-fighting capabilities with fully functional surveillance around the metro. The city's Community Safety MMC, Hannes Kutzer, says the 319 installed cameras have not been operational since 2019. At least 2 illegal miners or mine workers have been retrieved alive from a mine shaft in Stilfontein in the northwest. They were assisted by about 50 residents who volunteered to rescue suspected illegal miners who were too weak to come back to the surface by themselves. The residents used ropes to pull them out. Residents estimate that around 4,500 suspected illegal miners are still underground. Recapping the top story, SAFA President Denny Jordan and 2 co-accused have been granted 20,000 rand bail each by the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court sitting in Palmbridge, east of Johannesburg. I am Wandela for SAFM News headlines at 4:30.
And coming up in sports this hour, Dr. Khoza re-elected NSL chairperson and 2025 Comrades Race for Charity now open. For details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, some Ray of Air bus feeder services throughout Soweto remain disrupted, so please do check before travel. The M1 northbound is queuing towards Woodmead Drive, Santon Drive westbound, slow moving towards Winnie-Mandela Drive, and Pretoria Street westbound has delays towards N Street. In KZN, the N2 southbound is closed at Joyner Road due to structural damage at the Mbongo-Ntwini River Bridge. You're asked to expect diversions and heavy delays. The N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle reported before Spaghetti Junction and Umgeni Road westbound, slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the M7 checks Havel Drive southbound, queuing towards the R300 highway. The N1 outbound is slow moving towards Yiptiyaga Avenue. The M3 southbound is queuing towards Rhodes Drive, and the M5 southbound is queuing towards Racecourse Road exit. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk. We've upgraded. Our new GIS-linked national address database lets us connect with you better than ever before. By visualizing licensed and unlicensed households nationwide, we can ensure timely communication. Our payment reminders are a crucial tool to help you stay compliant and avoid penalties, empowering you to take proactive steps. Efficient electronic communication helps us collect fees seamlessly, bolstering the SABC's mandate in line with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act. TV licenses. Pay yours, make a difference. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Tell you what, feel free to comment on some of the issues I've raised or that we've raised as a team today. Let's certainly want to know what you think are the issues that moves the National Pulse. One of the things that I just want to say that I think is very interesting. So I was in Cape Town over the weekend, right? And it was a guest at a hotel called the Pepper Club. I was asked to check it out. Now, not going to talk about the hotel. Of course, it's fancy. It's a 5-star hotel. It's all very, very nice. But here's the big thing, right? From the moment we arrived at reception till the time we left, there were like 15 touch points with different staff coming to assist you. And I can tell you now, the level of warmth and commitment to service was, can I call it champion class service? That's what it was. The moment we got in, please have a seat. Can we offer you a drink? What can we do for you? How can we make your stay more comfortable? And that applied right through. And I'm just saying, when we talk about, building a champion nation and being excellent at all things that we do as a country, it's that type of, champion service that you look for every single day. And if we do that collectively and individually, suddenly, the country and its global competitiveness just moves up 1 notch, 2 notches, 3 notches, and you know what? Even the unemployment rate will plummet. I can tell you now. That's what we need to be looking out for. Right. With that in mind, interesting that we talk about what we're going to go on to now, because we are talking about unemployment. Yesterday we touched on the fact that the unemployment rate, went down by about 1.3% or so, 1.4. It's still in the 30s. It's very high. And the unemployment for people from the ages of 15 to 35, that bracket is still, it's frightening at 44 or so percent. So we thought we'd ask a few people not to comment on what Stats SA said, but to find practical solutions to the way forward. So less moan, more vision, practical vision around that. So let's talk about that, right? We have with us Fancy Malachi, who's the Youth Capital Network's activist there. Fancy, I appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting to the National Pulse.
Greetings from the Youth Capital community, Ashraf.
Thank you so much. Right. So you've got this big responsibility, you and on behalf of your organization, Youth Capital, to maybe path a way forward to move from high unemployment to no unemployment, particularly among South Africa's youth. What's the plan?
Yeah, so the work that we do at Youth Capital is sort of understanding the issue of unemployment, connecting that with the lived experiences of young people on the ground, and then working towards policy change that can ensure that there are solutions that are centered around young people. And earlier you were framing this idea of, unemployment being extremely high in South Africa. In fact, it's at 45.5% for the age bracket of age 15 to 34. And we're finding that public employment programs within this context can connect young people to the world of work.
Okay, so practically, how do we go about doing so? When I say we, it could be, Youth Capital with ideas, but it also means incorporating, government, big business, all of us, other forms of activism. Something has to give, right?
Yes, something has to give, and just based off what you're saying, we believe that everyone actually plays a role in addressing unemployment. This is an issue that affects everyone. We know that, in South Africa, the cost of living is extremely high, cost of transport, and we know that if there's a shift in unemployment, we can really start to stimulate the economy. And something very small that every single person can do is simply putting pressure on government to ensure that there is the continuation of public employment programs. One of the programs called the Teachers Assistant Program has created over 1 million opportunities for people in South Africa, a majority of those going to young people. And we already know that program at scale has ensured that young people are connected to the world of work. So something really small that everyone can do is sign a petition for Youth Capital at youthcapital.co.za and ensure that National Treasury release funds for this program, as it hasn't run for a whole year. Okay,
so that petition will entail what? I mean, let's be specific about it. If I sign a petition, I'll be signing to say what?
Yeah, sure. So this petition has been run last year when National Treasury wanted to cut funding for the program. This year it is running again to ensure that National Treasury actually releases the funds. So there is a commitment from government that they will continue this program that is connecting young people to the world of work. However, for a whole year, the UIF and National Treasury haven't released these funds. So what we want to do is ensure that we're holding government accountable and saying that we are tasking and calling for the National Treasury to release these funds.
Okay, would that be enough? I mean, that would just be one start, isn't it? Just because, they may come back and say, but we are cash-strapped in terms of budgets. I mean, there's been budget cuts around health and around education. Why would they release funds for this?
Yes, so again, this is a program that is at scale. It's created opportunities for young people 5 kilometers from their doorstep. In South Africa, looking at the cost of looking for work and the cost of job seeking, it's so expensive for a young person to actually go to work. And with this program, you're ensuring that young people aren't just working, but they're also improving their communities. So if we sign this petition and government releases the funds for this program, we know that means there are over 800,000 young people who are connected to the world of work.
Now, do I take it that in terms of your suggestion as Youth Capital, that's not something that government has been, and other relevant employment agencies have been taking seriously up to now?
Yeah, I think, we've seen with the GNU, there are a lot of promises during campaign periods before the GNU came to power, a lot of promises around a job in every home, a lot of promises around job growth, and we aren't seeing that same urgency now. And what we're calling for Youth Capital, because we engage with so many young people who are discouraged work seekers, who are not productive, we've engaged with lots of young people, and we know that this is an issue that really upends their lives. And we know that beyond the age of 35, it is incredibly difficult to find a job in South Africa. So we need to ensure that while young people are young, they are connected to the world of work. And again, that petition, that simple petition to call for government to release funds for a program that connects young people to the world of work is incredibly important. And anyone can find this at youthcaps.co.za.
Okay. Do you get a sense, what's your broader thoughts around how did we get to an unemployment rate of like 44-45% amongst young people in the first place?
Yeah, so we've seen a trend for the past 10 years that South Africa has experienced a sustained rate of unemployment, one of the highest in the world. And we know that, post 1994, the hope was that, especially for young people, as well as, our parents' generation and the generation before them, the hope was that things would turn around. And we know that a lot of the rhetoric and the narrative from political parties is that there has been an improvement in employment. But we know that young people, and the majority of young people are unemployed in the country. This means that there's going to be an unstable economy, as well as the risk of possible social unrest. So we are really pushing at Youth Capital for solutions that actually address the issue of unemployment.
And maybe just the last thing for now, right? In terms of the morale of young people, I would take it that Youth Capital would have done surveys and research into what are young people thinking.
Yeah, so we've engaged with a lot of young people who message us on our WhatsApp line. We're also part of several Facebook groups centered around young people trying to find employment or any sort of opportunity in South Africa. And young people are, despite the reality of unemployment in South Africa, they are still trying to do what they can. So they're starting tutor centers in their communities. They are hustling hard. As young people, we hustle quite hard. But the reality is we need support along this journey to ensure that we are productive. And I think, there's a lot of hope around this new government of national unity. And we're really hoping that political parties, citizens of South Africa, we just hope that people place young people at the center, because that's the only way we can move forward as a country.
Well, yeah, I think absolutely. Okay, so thank you for your input and advice. And I wonder what people out there think, whether how workable the Youth Capital input is in terms of reducing unemployment, reducing the unemployment rate, therefore reducing unemployment and ensuring more younger people are employed. And we need to do that like ASAP, very, very quickly indeed. So Fence Malachi, the Youth Capital Network's activists, appreciate you giving your input here on The National Pulse.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture, delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom. Reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead. in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Centre. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, we're going to get to some of the, in fact, we'll get to some of your WhatsApps just now in terms of your thoughts and your calls on some of the biggest issues here that moves the National Pulse. But as always, I ask you this question as you maybe just joined in, right? What for you moves the National Pulse today? What are the issue that gets your pulses racing, that you feel so strongly about, that you want to comment about it with your family, with the people that you're around right now, but also on air, because we are your connection, and I'd certainly like to know. 086 000 2032. WhatsApp, text, voice notes, 0614 104 107. By the way, we'll chat to Karen Moon coming up. She'll talk about her book, I Will Not Be Silenced, around 4:45. So looking forward to that. Now, in the meantime, it's been a busy day with regards to the minister in the presidency, as per a regular meeting in terms of cabinet meeting briefing, and I'm talking about Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, right? So let's talk about that, and let's pick out some of the key issues that were raised, okay? One of them, and this is an important one based upon some of the speculations that has already taken place, is that government does not plan to stop SRD grants.
The stability in the public finances through the prudent management of government spending and debt ensures that our country can stimulate economic growth while ensuring the most vulnerable in our midst continue to be supported through our social assistance program, including the SRD grants. There were people who were spreading misinformation that we are seizing the SRD grants. That is not true. The Minister of Finance was very clear about the provision for social SRD grant, social relief for the distress grant. Cabinet supports the 4 pillars to uplift the economy and employment.
Okay, and that's there's more, right? The other thing that's come out of this cabinet briefing is that government will not be sending any help to the miners. Remember that issue? Miners being stuck underground in the Stilfontein mine.
We're not sending help to criminals. We're going to smoke them out. They will come out. We're not sending help to criminals. Criminals are not to be helped. Criminals are to be persecuted. We didn't send them there. And they didn't go down there for the good benefit or good intentions for the Republic. So we can't help them. Those who want to help them, they must go and take the food down there. They will come out. We'll arrest them.
Okay, what do you make of that? So these are people, illegal miners, stuck underground. We're not going to help the criminals, and if you want to help them, and when they come up, they can come up and we will arrest them. In the meantime, the key phrase, we will smoke them out. I think I last heard that through George W. Bush. I hope I've got my memory right. We will smoke them out. Talking about another country that the USA was involved in, right, or with. Now, the minister then talked about communications and digital technologies, and their minister, that's Solly Malatsi, saying, and this is so important, he does not have the powers to withdraw the SABC bill, as that bill was approved by cabinet.
The SABC bill is not a bill of, is not a private member's bill. It's not Minister Malatsi's bill. It's a bill of cabinet and the executive. So in terms of the law, he cannot withdraw it without coming to cabinet to agree for its withdrawal. That bill was submitted to cabinet after it was approved by cabinet. It was submitted to parliament after it was approved to cabinet. The cabinet secretariat and the leader of government's business will deal with that matter in the next cabinet meeting, because there's no minister, even myself, I can't withdraw any bill which has been approved by cabinet unless I've tabled a bill. Remember, they are private members' bill. Unless as Khumbudzo Ntshavheni have tabled a bill. Whatever the limitations the minister may find in the bill, he must come and convince cabinet to say there are these limitations in the bill, and for this reason, this is the amendments I want to make in the bill, and therefore I'm requesting cabinet to concur with me to withdraw that bill.
Right, now this is important. We've just come out of the general election, May 29. So when will the 2026 local government elections be contested? Well, Minister Ntshavheni has this important date.
Cabinet decisions will start on the decisions of Cabinet meeting of Wednesday, the 23rd of October 2024. 2026 local government elections. Cabinet approved the establishment of the interministerial committee that will oversee preparations for the 2026 local government elections. With the previous local government election having been held on the 1st of November 2021, the next municipal elections will be held between 2nd November 2026 and 1st February 2027. The IMC will be convened by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs and consists of several government departments that are key to ensuring the delivery of successful elections. Cabinet also considered and approved the formula for the determination of the number of councillors in terms of Section 20, subsection 1A of the Municipal Structures Act. The 2026 municipal elections will be the 6th such elections since the advent of democracy in 1994. The IMC will work with the IEC and other relevant bodies towards ensuring that the process leading to the local government elections is smooth and peaceful.
Okay, we got that. Let's get to some of the callers now. Paki in Cape Town, hi.
I hope you can hear me loud and clear now, Ashraf.
Much better, yeah. Much better. Go ahead.
Let's quickly get on it. First of all, congratulations about your hotel experience that you got in Cape Town.
Yes, and I think I want to put this to everyone. I mean, maybe you've got similar experiences wherever you are. No, I'm just saying to you, I know you're not talking about that, but I'm just saying to you, what I'd love people to do, wherever they're listening, is if you've got experiences in any form of service in the country right now,
talk about it.
Give us a shout out. Let's talk. I don't care. You can talk about the brands. We need to mention them. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
And hopefully those hotel people are listening so that they can actually become some kind of a competition that also about to wow our visitors or our holidaymakers. Anyway, Ashraf, I want to quickly comment about this gift from Dr. Khoza to Dr. Mtaung.
Yeah.
Earlier on, you had an interview. In fact, not the interview, sorry. The lady was doing sports.
To me, yes.
And there were questions. I felt that so many questions that you wanted to ask, getting deeper in this type of a gift. And I was saying to myself, oh my goodness, you know what? I can already feel that, many listeners are actually going to call in and say, no, but, they are now going to start chastising and say, no, but what's wrong with when one gives such an amount to a friend? Even the lady said it's a money exchanging hands between friends. But here's the point, Ashraf. I personally don't support, I'm not happy with this type of gifting. This money, Dr. Khoza, could at least giving it at least to some kind of a developmental, project somewhere, or unemployment or opportunities. In the name of Dr. Kaiser Mtaung, such as agriculture, and to support, as a matter of fact, or maybe towards Bazari in the name of Dr. Mtaung. Instead of giving, you know what, Ashraf, I've just read. There's a gentleman called James Richardson. He's actually written an article. He said, Dr. Kaiser Mtaung, as of the 13th July 2024, he's actually estimated at worthing, his net worth is actually estimated around 1.1 billion. And today now we are reading that a friend is giving him 2 million rand. At the same time, today, this morning, Dr. Mtaung, what is this now?
Danny Jordan,
was in court around the same money. Now, are we really going to, flash money like that? Yet we know that there are, families here in South Africa. Look what is happening in KZN. Look what is happening all throughout the country. Assisting even in your, in your wonderful project that you are doing, which is not related to SADC, Ashraf. Why couldn't they get in touch, maybe with one of the organizations?
Well, I hear you, Paki. So, by and large, I agree. I must say, I'll reserve my judgment until I know more, okay? And you're quite right. I think for people who are worth millions or billions, then $1 million is not much money. And the difference is, you're right. Anybody can give anybody money. It's actually up to them, right? But is that personal money or is it PSL money? And it's PSL money. What's the rationale of giving someone like that cash? I agree. If you have a stadium, for example, named after Kaiser Motaung, that's magical, because I do believe that I think his contribution to South African football is immense. In fact, I stand to be corrected. I think he's the first one to have a club named after him. You know, when he played for Atlanta Chiefs, I think it was, and then came back and formed Kaiser Chiefs as the breakaway from Orlando Pirates, and then others took suite. So I think the contribution is immense. And I don't know more, and I'm merely doing what I need to do, which is just ask questions. So, Parky, thank you for that. Right, let's get another call. Jan in Naledi. Go ahead, Jan.
Sure, Ashraf, how are you?
I'm good indeed. Go ahead. Your point?
Ashraf, I don't know, people don't want to face the facts or what, but there's a lot of jobs in South Africa, but the jobs are being taken by foreigners. You see, now, I was looking at the stats, it has went down to 32% from 33%. It's because of they have started to visit the companies and all that, and it has dropped. And I'm going to tell you now, I was working for this company in Blackgore. It's a moving company. I was the only South African there. All of those people are foreigners, Zimbabweans, Malawians, and I was shocked. The other day, the other one told me that he's got an ID. I was shocked. So there's jobs in South Africa, but the jobs are being occupied by foreigners.
Maybe we'll find out more about that. Thank you. And I think I'll say this, and I've said this before, I think general diversity of foreign nationals who are documented in the country, they do add to a country in terms of innovation. But you can't do it at the expense of locals. You certainly can't do that. And you can't do that when you've got 40% of the country unemployed. You can't do that. Now, if there are companies that are only employing like 90% foreign nationals and for a basic skill, then there is something wrong with that. And I suggest that maybe government needs to pay attention to that, isn't it? Let's get the news headlines. Just gone 4:30 years on Della.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the news headlines, SAFA President Denny Jordan and two co-accused have been granted 20,000 rand bail each by the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court sitting in Palm Ridge, east of Johannesburg. Dishonesty, impunity and non-compliance are contributing factors to suspected cases of foodborne illnesses reported in many communities in South Africa over the last weeks. And Iranian human rights activists say a man has been hanged for the second time. This follows his previous execution that was halted after 30 seconds when the victim's family said they forgave him. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound is queuing towards Woodmead Drive. The N12 westbound in Eldorado Park has a crash reported near the Golden Highway. The M1 southbound is slow moving through Crown Interchange towards Boysons. The N1 northbound in Midrand slow moving towards Samrand Road, and the N4 Witbank Highway westbound in Pretoria has delays towards the N1 highway. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle reported before Spaghetti Junction. Allen Payton Road southbound is closed at the N3 southbound on-ramp that's due to roadworks until November 2025. And the R102 under Zondo Road southbound in Amanzimtoti has delays towards Athlone Park due to diversion volumes from the N2 southbound closure. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The M7 Jakes Hadwell Drive southbound queuing towards the R300 highway. The N1 outbound is slow moving towards Yeptiaga Avenue. Main Road outbound and Observatory is slow moving towards the N2 highway, and Victoria Road outbound is slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma Jean.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
And an update from Tumi about Kaiser Motaung.
Yeah.
What's the story now?
There's actually a response from him, and he was obviously moved by the gesture from the PSL, and he was saying that they've been through a lot, himself and Dr. Irvin Khoza, and he hopes that they'll be able to tell stories about what they've been through in the years that they've been contributing to football in South Africa. I'll play that clip just a bit later, but that's what he had to say with regards to his response to receiving 2 million rand from the PSL.
Is there a book on Kaiser Motaung? Like a bio? I don't know. Okay. I mean, that's the part about telling stories.
Yeah.
Is there
definitely.
a book? I want him as a guest, not for a 5-minute, as a fireside chat. If anybody connected to the Kaizer Chiefs Football Club, I don't know how many supporters we have here listening right now, but even in the studio, please come on, let's connect us. We need to talk about it, about him rather, as a person and his incredible journey. As far as the money is concerned, well, okay, he's made his point. Let's find out more, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Dr. Irvin Khoza has been re-elected unopposed as the NSL chairman at the general meeting in Sandton. An executive committee was also announced, which did not include John Comitis, David Didiela, and Rob Bernardi. In terms of the team, it's Kaizer Motaung, Mato Madlala, Dr. Joyce Simelane, Sfiso Biela, Tim Sukazi, Stanley Matthews, and Johnny Mokhaladi. Meanwhile, South African football greats Jomo Sono, Ephraim Shakes, Mashaba, Pule Ntwelengwe, Nelson Dladla, and Banyana coach Desiree Ellis will be inducted in the South African Hall of Fame next week, Wednesday. The induction was announced by the South African Football Association, which said that in the 1996 Africa Cup of Nations winning legends Lucas Kharebe and Neil Tovey, the captain of the team, will also be inducted. And this is what Ellis had to say about this.
I'm really excited. I'm also but humbled and blessed, because, you know, we don't do things for awards and rewards. We speak about teamwork, and if the team does well, the individual stands out. But I'm really very blessed, to be honest. Awards happen, and then tomorrow it's forgotten because you carry on and you do something, and you do something else, you carry on. But I have to say, you know, it ranks up there with all of them. I mean, this is an esteemed bunch of people that is being inducted, and I think I'm blessed to be able to be part of such an esteemed group. I'm just honored, to be honest, and blessed. And, you know, each award means something different, but it's special in a different way. And, you know, I have to say thank you to, you know, the players at Banyana, the staff at Banyana, for all the work that they put in. This award is not mine alone. I also have to say thank you to SAFA and Cecil for the opportunities given to us.
Then moving on to marathon news, registration are open for the 2025 Comrades Marathon Race for Charity fundraising program. The charity program offers runners the opportunity to raise funds for worthy causes and improve their seeding in the race. When entering, participants will have to have the option of joining Race for Charity before completing an entry, and the 98th Comrades will be a down run starting at Pietermaritzburg City Hall. In rugby, Eben Etzebeth says that he's looking forward to reigniting his rivalry with Maro Itoje when the Springboks face England at Twickenham this Saturday. Etzebeth has battled Itoje many times in his career, and their forthcoming clash promises to be another fierce chapter in the storied competition. Etzebeth correctly estimated that he was 5-3 up against Itoje, but added that he would one day like to play alongside the English enforcer. In motorsport, in a surprise move, Formula One race driver Niels Wittich has quit his role with immediate effect. It is rare for a race director to leave during the season. However, the FIA did not elaborate on the reasoning behind Wittich's departure. Now, Wittich will be replaced by Rui Marquez at the upcoming Las Vegas Grand Prix, which takes place on the 23rd of November. Marquez has served as race director for F2 and F3. Then finally, in UFC, South Africa's Dricus du Plessis is a viewer magnet for local sports fans. For his first televised fight back in 2022, he caught 1,033% more live viewers than any of his previous fights. Then this year, he solidified his spot as a viewer magnet leading up to his fight against Israel Adesanya, recording over 380,000 viewers in January this year. Now, the Adesanya even caught around 307,000 viewers, just proving that SA Sports Heroes continue to draw local audiences, especially with a 3 a.m. start. With that said, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Yeah, 3 a.m. I think the Football World Cup's going to be like 3 a.m. You better get practicing, okay? And Donald Trump will deliver the trophy to Bafana, the World Cup winning team.
Bafana. Yeah. I love your confidence.
Thank you. More sport in an hour.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to those numbers now with Makwe Masilela, Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Good to connect as always, Makwe. So you've got Dipula Income Fund's yearly results, as well as local and global markets. Go for it.
Afternoon to you, Ashraf. Yes, the Pula, they have a diversified portfolio worth around 10 billion. They own Mapelo Ombre Shopping Center, Chile Lane in Sunny Hill, Yoakiani Shopping Center, Hammanskraal Shopping Center. Revenue up 6.6%, dividend per share down 4.5%, profit as headline earnings per share down 11.5%, but their net asset value per ordinary share up 5%. Ashraf, a 15% increase in property-related expenses weighed on their operations, and a rise in bond yields unnerved investors ahead of the key inflation data that could inform the pace of monetary policy easing in the U.S. And there's some growing concern that Trump's proposed tariffs and his cabinet picks for key administration posts may stoke inflation. And Trump piled his cabinet with people set to carry out his America First policies on the border, trade, and national security, and also economy. And part of market decline has just been a little bit of profit taking, and the much-awaited U.S. consumer inflation was in line with expectations. Yields fell slightly as a knee-jerk reaction, as it supports a 25 basis point bet when it comes to rate cuts for December in the U.S. And the U.S. dollar lost some ground, the likes of the rand, that which helped the likes of the rand to recover, and the rand also got support from firmer commodity prices, and falling demand projections and weaknesses in China continue to weigh on market sentiments and crude prices. And on the supply side, the markets still face disruptions from Iran or further conflict between Iran and Israel. We see oil is down 0.5% at $71 a barrel, and the yellow metal edged higher on some bargain buying and remain high as the U.S. inflation was tamed. And we see that gold is up 0.5% at 2,612, platinum up 0.4% at 947, and markets regained some of the earlier losses, though mixed with the JSE down 0.2%. But our resources are trying to help us, and the rand firmed around 0.6% against the US dollar at 17.99, 22.93 against the pound, and 19.12 against the euro.
Right, perfect. Good to connect, and we do it again tomorrow. Makwe, thanks for your time. Right, okay, still to come. So we'll chat to Karen Moore about her book called I Will Not Be Silenced. A lot of that has got to do about her covering the Jacob Zuma trials, and then also herself being at the receiving end of a prosecution. So looking forward to that conversation. Right, in the meantime, let's get your calls.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
In fact, there's a comment from Kenneth Modisa King saying, "Hi Ashraf, and the team, I'd like to submit a proposal to the National Pulse. Please advise. Great show as always." I'll tell you what, for now, maybe I need to get an email address, but for now, perhaps we've got your number. Let me get keys just to take your number down, connect with you, and then let's see what can come out of it. But I think what we need to do is create a National Pulse email address that you can also, dedicated email address that you can actually send to us. Right. Okay, let's get to some voice notes in the meantime. And there's a range of issues that we've covered already this all throughout the show, from issues like Mozambique to the issues of unemployment, to the issues of the 2 million rand.
Hello, Ashraf. I just want to check if the 2 million that was donated to Kaiser Madaung, if it's personal from COSA or is it PSL money?
I stand to be corrected. My understanding, it's PSL money. That's the point of difference. Okay, that's my understanding. We'll get clarity on that.
Ashraf, this is corruption. They're making PSL a fiefdom. It's an old boys club, fiefdom, a cabal. Cheers.
Do you think it's corruption? I don't have any facts to suggest that, but I hear what you're saying. Right, let's get another.
Good afternoon, man. Good afternoon to the SAFM listeners. I just thank God for this Danny Jordan's case, because this case will help us to push him out from SAFA structure, because I think he's the one who destroyed the South African soccer. So, and the case will help us really. It's Keshnam Kasendambe Village. Thanks.
Okay, what about if he's guilty? What about the sadness around that? That means, didn't you hope that that never happened, more than just even destroying, as you call it, South African football, right?
Good afternoon. This is Zipozoke from KZN. I want to talk about the unemployment rate, especially the youth unemployment rate. I think the government should take a direct approach to this. I think that would be key. I think manufacturing is very, very important in decreasing unemployment and boosting the economy. I think the government should coerce, speak to, and work with foreign investors to build the plants or companies for manufacturing here in this country and sort of subsidize or assist them in the early stages of whatever manufacturing plant they built in this country. I think manufacturing is the way. That's the key. Thank you.
Manufacturing is the way. Well, I think there's certainly a scope for you to to build something meaningful and meaningful growth in the economy, right? Here's a point I just want to play now. It's important, and how we can solve it.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Can someone out there in Mpumalanga province in Emelo assist us in getting an ambulance at 13A Bothma Street? We have been trying to get an ambulance from 8 a.m. today. Up until now, the time is now 5 minutes to 4. Still there's no ambulance. Our mother is critical and we urgently need an ambulance. Can someone out there in Emelo who is in a position to assist help us? Thank you. I'm PV.
Well, you see, I'm playing that because, goodness, man, somebody needs to be able to help that person. If you're able to, maybe just connect with our studio line. Let's see if Keys and Temba can assist and just make some connections. It's just so important. People make those type of calls, honestly, out of absolute desperation. Right, let's get another call from Kuruman. We go with DJ Forbes. Hi, DJ Forbes.
Hi, Ashraf and SAFM. How are you?
I'm very good indeed. Go ahead. What do you want to say?
Thanks. First time caller.
Oh, well done. Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, I was moved by the voice note of that minister regarding the trapped miners, illegal miners.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that comment. I'm trying to figure it out. Did she think of it? Did she write a speech before making such comment? Because that it's like it's not directed to human beings. It's very wrong for her to come and say like that. Those are the fathers that are trying hard to feed their families. With the rate of unemployment and poverty that we have in this country, we cannot just say, let them die, let them, like, and that money that they get, what are they using for? Aren't they buying food? Aren't they contributing to the economy?
Well, they are, but I mean, okay, the flip side is they are doing something illegal, and we have a huge problem around illegal trade in so many things. Do we just allow that to happen?
Yes. No, I'm not saying we should allow them. No? But now that they are trapped, those guys are desperate. They are in desperate times now. And that's human life that we're talking about. What are we going to say to their kids? My father went out to go and try for me to make us survive. Even though it's legal, I'm not condoning that it should be allowed. But this is a situation that we cannot turn a blind eye on.
Okay, so you're saying, I mean, there needs to be more empathy to that person or to that group and simply saying, come out on your own and we'll smoke you out, yeah? You're saying that's not acceptable? I think you're gone. Okay, DJ.
To wrote down there.
Yeah, all right, got that, DJ Forbes. Thanks for calling in. First-time caller, make it more than just one call. Right, Karen Moore, we'll talk to her right after this.
We've upgraded. Our new GIS-linked national address database lets us connect with you better than ever before. By visualizing licensed and unlicensed households nationwide, we can ensure timely communication. Our payment reminders are a crucial tool to help you stay compliant and avoid penalties, empowering you to take proactive steps. Efficient electronic communication helps us collect fees seamlessly, bolstering the SABC's mandate in line with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act. TV licenses. Pay yours, make a difference.
Specsavers now looks after your hearing as well as your vision with Specsavers Audiology. With 60 stores and counting, we are South Africa's largest audiology group. For a limited time only, buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. You heard right. Buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. Find your nearest store at specsavers.co.za. Specsavers Audiology. Test your hearing and join the conversation. T's and C's apply.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture, delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom, reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Centre. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM. Prime time all day long.
Right, let's talk now to Karen Moore. She's the author of many books. In fact, she's renowned as this crime beat reporter, so everybody would know about her and the work that she's done at News 24 and before that on various other channels. But the latest book she's written is called I Will Not Be Silenced. And it's an interesting title that I want to pick up on. So let's get Karen Moore on the line. Karen, good chatting to you, and thanks for connecting to the National Pulse.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm so sorry I missed your book launch in Rosebank the other day. Just call it multiple overlapping engagements. Otherwise, I would simply have been there.
You're a very popular, busy man, and I'm very honored to be talking to you now. So thank you for that.
Well, you're very kind. Now, let me get to you. So you've written. You're a crime reporter. I've made the point. You've written many books, mainly around issues of crime and things like that. But this book is personal. I Will Not Be Silenced. Why did you feel the need to effectively reflect a very personal experience that you are experiencing even now?
I think the thing was that I felt in many respects that so many things had been said about me, and oftentimes in a really unkind, untrue way. That I was racist, that I was a Nazi, that I was a propagandist, that I was a spy, all kinds of names that are routinely used against people who seek accountability, whether they are judges, whether they are journalists, whether they are the Chief Justice, the former public protector, and even people who commentate and report on matters. We tend to get a great deal of abuse, and we get a great deal of falsehoods said about. And I think for me, what elevated, beyond the parameters of what happens to us all as journalists on a day-to-day basis was, of course, facing this private prosecution from former President Jacob Zuma, who I've been reporting on for the bulk of my professional life, and him essentially arguing that I should be jailed for 15 years for doing my job. And then ultimately, of course, that failed. But the court saying that what happened in my instance was that he wished to silence my reporting, and in some respects he wished to send out a chilling message to other reporters to say, don't report on powerful people. This is what could happen to you, this kind of public shaming, this being called a criminal, and this being dragged into the courts where you don't belong.
So would I be right in saying that, in fact, your book is, on the one hand, just giving a perspective of yourself and in terms of the struggles that you've had, but on the other hand also it is to draw attention to the struggles and therefore for people to understand you better. And I don't mean former President Jacob Zuma, and I don't mean people like Dali Mpofu, Advocate Dali Mpofu, because you've mentioned them in the book, but I'm talking about just the general public who have perceptions about you. What was it targeted to them to say, understand me better?
I think, the thing is that the people who come at you with hatred are unlikely to ever be persuaded. by what you say, because they've made someone who makes those kind of accusations is unlikely to be persuaded by what you say. But I mean, I think the important thing to remember is that the vast majority of people on Twitter and in the world actually are just silent observers. And they look to us, they look to journalists, they look to sources, reputable sources of information to help them make sense of the world. And I felt that it wasn't just about me and journalists per se, but it was about a long line of women who had been misrepresented, who'd had falsehoods said about them. Everyone from Fezeka Kuzwayo, who accused the former president of raping her, to Mantuli Zuma, who was falsely accused of poisoning him and has spent 5 years of her life essentially in exile based on completely false allegations, to Thuli Madonsela, who has been called all kinds of names, Sissy Kampepe, who was called emotional for jailing Jacob Zuma for contempt when she gave a very sound and reasoned judgment. And of course, Janet Love, most recently with the elections, who was falsely accused of all kinds of things just for doing her job as head of the IEC. So for me, it's about we need to start pushing back on this vilification and unjustified hatred towards people, especially women who are just doing their job, and start trying to understand that, these kind of extreme narratives are very detached from reality and extremely damaging to ordinary people who are behind them.
Okay, of course we want people to buy the book, and I'll encourage them to do that. But in the context of what you're saying, perhaps give us the context of one of the chapters is called Cheap Shots, Bullying Tactics. I mean, tell us about that.
Well, I mean, I spent a lot of time writing about Advocate Dali Mpofu, who had at one stage been quite a good friend of mine. I mean, I went to his mom's funeral when she passed away. And, I'd interviewed him for the podcast that I did with his son about, the unresolved apartheid-era disappearances. And I think it was very hard for me, as someone who had once regarded him, as a friend and as a reputable advocate, to watch him from initially saying to me that he knew I hadn't done anything wrong, to arguing in court that I was similar to a child rapist and a murderer. For getting court papers. And I look at the kind of, I feel, I look at all the allegations and complaints that have been leveled against him, falsely accusing Thuli Madonsela of criminal conduct because of the way her affidavit was commissioned at the Nkobani inquiry, threatening the chair of that, Gudile Dianti. The comments to Mandisa Maya about we spent the night together, falsely accusing Dunstan and Lambo of sexually harassing judges, female judges, suggesting he'd done that without any shred of evidence. I mean, the list, and of course telling Michelle LaRue to shut up, and then the LPC finding that was acceptable because it wouldn't be rude in isiXhosa, which any isiXhosa person will tell you is absolute nonsense. If you tell someone to vala umlomo, that's, I think, considered extremely rude. But, this culture of impunity that's developed around him, to the extent where judges like Nathan Ponan will get vilified for pointing out obvious deficits in his style of litigation and the way in which he behaves in court cases. Thuli also spoke about this in the book. She spoke about her absolute surprise and shock at the way a person who'd once asked her to potentially be mentored by him at the bar was willing to falsely accuse her of criminality based on absolutely nothing.
Okay, it's interesting. Let me then move on to, the chapter called Sick Note, because that is central to yourself in the sense that often you'd be accused of, witch hunting other people, right? Maybe. But in this case, things get turned around completely where, in fact, yourself and Billy Downer are prosecuted. So maybe just for those that can't remember, very quickly, quick context, very short, and then how you felt about it and in terms of who did what.
Well, essentially, the former president alleged that because an NPA counsel who was working for the NPA at the time, Andrew Breitenbach, sent me court papers that were filed as part of Jacob Zuma's application for a postponement when he was imprisoned by the Constitutional Court and was unwell. And those papers, of course, containing a very vague sick note saying that, he'd suffered a traumatic injury and needed treatment. They said that that had amounted to a violation of the NPA Act, that somehow Billy Downer, who was not involved in it at all, was complicit in it. And they alleged that the information, that this was Jacob Zuma's confidential medical information that I disclosed, and that essentially under the NPA Act, any disclosure by a prosecutor to someone else without the permission of the head of the NPA was a criminal offence that could be sanctioned by up to 15 years in jail. We, of course, challenged that as an abusive process on a number of legal technical grounds, and we won. We won both the court case and the enforcement, and the former president has attempted, I think, on at least 6 different occasions to try and challenge that, and has thus far been unsuccessful.
And just lastly, as we get to news time again, as someone who's done the beat, what are your thoughts on South Africa's, and it's a broad statement, prosecuting authorities in terms of getting it right? What can you tell us about that?
I think Billy Downer is one of the most excellent prosecutors that I've ever worked with. I think he was exemplary in that case, and I think that was why he was targeted. But unfortunately, that same standard of excellence hasn't been mirrored in the prosecution of these high-profile state capture cases. And, while there's a big fanfare when anyone is arrested, the lack of follow-through, the lack of conviction, the lack of sentencing is what makes the public not necessarily have faith in the NPA. And it's very important for us as journalists to criticize and to analyze the conduct of the NPA and praise them when they get it right, but when there are obvious deficits in how they prosecute these corruption cases, and they fall apart, then we also need to call them out for it as well.
Okay, and therefore to end with just one word, that's what I want, one word for you to describe what you see as the criminal justice system in South Africa. Struggling. Get the book, I Will Not Be Silenced, from Karen Moore. It gives you insights into all of that, the criminal justice system, but also her mind and certainly the minds of some significant figures, among them Dali Mpofu, as well as former President Jacob Zuma. Karen Moore, appreciate you giving off your time, and that podcast will be up as well ASAP. Let's get the news now, just gone 5 o'clock. Here's Greg Hose.
Thank you, Ashraf. In this news update, Safa's Jordan granted bail, an Iranian man hanged for the second time. Good day. The president of Football Association Safa, Danny Jordan, and 2 co-accused have been granted 20,000 rand bail each by the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court sitting in Palm Ridge, east of Johannesburg. Jordan, the Safa CFO, Grani Khlulo, and Trevor Neethling were arrested today. They're facing charges of fraud and theft amounting to 1.3 million rand. Jordan allegedly used Safa funds to appoint a communications company to improve his image after former ANC MP Jennifer Ferguson accused him of rape. Presiding Magistrate Philip Venter.
After all considered, the court is satisfied that indeed there is no reason to conclude anything other than the interest of justice will permit your release on bail. Pertaining to the quantum, first of all, I do not think that the quantum of bail suggested by the respondent is unreasonable. It appears to be achievable by all the applicants. All 3 of the applicants can achieve the quantum of 20,000 rand, and as said, I don't think that is an unreasonable amount. The court will fix bail in the amount of 20,000 rand for each of you.
The City of Tshwane has welcomed an SIU probe into a 400 million rand tender for the installation of CCTV cameras. The project was intended to enhance crime-fighting capabilities, but the 319 installed cameras haven't been operational since 2019. Tshwane mayoral spokesperson Zintle Maklat.
The proclamation authorizes the SIU to investigate allegations in the procurement of contracting of goods, work or services by or on behalf of the municipality under the tender for upgrading and extension of CCTV systems in Tshwane. The investigation will zoom into the payments and establish whether contracting and procurement were conducted in a manner that was fair, competitive, transparent, equitable or cost-effective.
Dishonesty, impunity and non-compliance are contributing factors to suspected cases of foodborne illnesses reported in many communities in the country. That's according to law enforcement and compliance officials from the Polokwane municipality. Different stakeholders have met to try and find solutions to these incidents at Nembizo in Polokwane and Limpopo. The Polokwane municipality's John Emsley.
People that are selling also at school gates and to the school during break times. most of the items sold there are either contaminated or prohibited items, getting at a cheap price so that they can sell it at the market schools. But coming to the spider shops, it really leaves much to be desired. Mr. Shaku mentioned a lot of challenges, but what we come across most of the time is that the spaza shops are not clean.
Meanwhile, some wholesalers and shopkeepers allege that some products they buy from manufacturers are delivered without expiry dates.
They see there is no expiry date. That April month is coming from the company, factory, and the factory put the expiry date on the bulk. The bulk have expiry date. When we open the plastic, there is expiry date on the bulk.
We have been serving these bars and shops and the communities at large for a couple of years now, and we have created a very good relationship with the business partners and the stakeholders.
Truck drivers parked on the N4 toll road towards the Lebombo border post in Mpumalanga have expressed concern over delays experienced at the port of entry. This after trucks transporting cargo were prevented from crossing the border due to protest action in Mozambique. Only private vehicles are allowed to cross the border. Some of the drivers had this to say.
We arrived here around 9 o'clock in the morning. We don't have enough food or water as we are stuck here. Our biggest concern is that criminals could attack us at night. No one is updating us about what is happening. We are really concerned because there are no toilets here and we don't have enough food.
Iranian human rights activists say a man has been hanged for the second time. This follows his previous execution that was stopped after 30 seconds when the victim's family said they had forgiven him. He was arrested for murder and sentenced to death. The BBC's Sebastian Usher has more.
One word saved the life of Ahmed Alizadeh the first time he was being executed in April this year. Forgiveness, shouted the victim's family as he was being hanged. The 26-year-old was brought down from the gallows and resuscitated, but it was to prove a short respite. It seems that Alizadeh, who denied the charge of murder, was unable to pay the blood money, which under traditional Islamic law, the victim's family could demand instead of his life. And so his execution went ahead for a second time, and this time there was to be no last-minute reprieve.
The top story, the SAFA president Danny Jordaan and two co-accused have been granted 20,000 rand bail each by the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Close.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is back. After receiving hundreds of entries last year from South African writers of different ages and ethnic groups sharing their stories, now the time is yours. It's your story. You decide. SAFM invites all writers to explore the medium of sound, the theatre of the mind, and to create a 1-hour radio play in English. Get writing now and submit your play before the 3rd of February 2025 for a chance to win one of 3 large cash prizes. For more information, visit safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
In sports this hour, approaches win the toss and elect to bowl first against India, and Kaizer Motaung welcomes PSL's 2 million rand gift. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg has a crash reported at Crown Interchange. The N12 eastbound in Boksburg has a stationary vehicle reported near the R21 highway. The N12 eastbound in Germiston has a stationary truck after Edenvale Road exit. Main Road northbound in Bryanston has a crash near Bryanston Drive, and Golden Highway in Lenasia is queuing between Cavendish Street and the R554 Nirvana Drive. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle reported before Spaghetti Junction. You are to expect delays through Prospection. That's due to traffic diverting from the N2 southbound closure. And also, you are to expect further delays between Isipingo and Bogotwini due to vehicles diverting from the N2 southbound closure. In Cape Town, Main Road northbound is slow moving through Fish-Hoek. The N2 outbound is slow moving towards the R300 highway. The M3 southbound is queuing towards Rhodes Drive, and the N1 outbound has ramp closure with no access to Lower Church Street. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
It's been a fascinating day, and I tell you what, amongst the many things that I've been involved in for the day that I just need to mention. If you live in Johannesburg, you would know that at Wits University, they've got what is called a planetarium. And I'll tell you what, football fans would also know that, because the planetarium has been alongside what is called the Mill Park Stadium, right, where Wits played their football. Now, that's all changed, we know that. But that's been now completely rebranded, the planetarium. And now with thanks to support from big funding, I understand, from Anglo-American, it's now been rebranded the Wits Anglo-American Digital Dome. Now, we will talk about it tomorrow, but I just want to tell you, having been there today and having sat in and watched this rebranded and revamped Digital Dome, which is beyond just the planet, as in planetarium, I think you are going to enjoy it. It's an absolute game changer in our country and in amongst the many cities that make up South Africa. So fabulous stuff, the Digital Dome, but we will talk about that in more detail tomorrow. I did also mention just good service, and I want you to really feel free. If you have experienced any good service for yourself anywhere in the country, just WhatsApp, probably the best way. You can also tweet it out, okay? Just tag SAFM Radio and tag myself. Use the hashtag The National Pulse, right? Some comments we've got that I want to pick up on. For the government to give aid to the Zama-Zamas will amount to abetting and aiding and conniving with criminals and criminality and could be liable for prosecution. Okay, that's one from Majetla, I think it is, right? So there you are. And there'll be more thoughts on that, right? There's an update on the ambulance story, I think, and I can just mention that. Remember, we had the caller who's saying that they were struggling to get an ambulance. So thanks to our team, Busani, as well as Keys, we've now got a comment on that to say the ambulance has arrived. Thank you for your prompt intervention, which I think is just fantastic. And I mean, listen, if we can help, that's great. Now, I so wish we can help with the township economy. We've been talking about this from spaza shops, not just spaza shops, to the general township economy. So earlier on, we had a conversation from the team from NAFCOC, right? That's one thing. Let's take that story a step further. With me now is Dr. Tami Mazwai, and we thought let's talk to him and pick his brain about what he sees as a potential solution. So, Dr. Tami Mazwai, Tami, good chatting to you. It's been a while.
Oh, hello.
Yes, you're live. You're live.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Thank you. So thanks for giving off your time. Right. So we thought we want to pick your brain in terms of the problems of what is called the township economy and spaza shop. So first things first, what is your understanding by when we talk about the township economy? What's your understanding of that?
Well, I mean, I think that let us put this in context. I think when communities, entrepreneurship is a factor of a human existence. When communities when there is a community, no family is self-sufficient. So you'll find that barter creeps in, and then from there on, because this family does not have this, that one does not have this, and then that is now the basis of any community economy. Just that basic barter. So now, when you are looking at the townships in South Africa, they are communities, but we've got to take into account that because of the previous regime, they were restricted from participating in what is a normal human activity, which is entrepreneurship, for various reasons. So when we talk about the township economy, we're talking about reigniting that spirit of entrepreneurship within communities so that they can start building their own wealth from the ground upwards, which is what other countries have done, for instance, China, Brazil, and Mexico, which are countries that I have gone to and Just 2 years ago, I went to Vietnam, and they were basically doing the same, stimulating ordinary people on the ground to start their own businesses and look after themselves than depend on the state.
Okay, so the next thing to answer then is what then, in your opinion, is the state of South Africa's township economies?
Well, obviously, like I mentioned, that the people were restricted, from basic entrepreneurial activity, but because of the hard work of a lot of, from 1905, I have released a book on the journey of the township entrepreneur, of the Sowetan entrepreneur, since 1905. There has been that struggle to exercise this basic human right by various individuals in these townships. And that's how the Maponyas emerged. Now, currently, when we took over in 1994, you're not going to reverse all that, and all of a sudden, what people were denied over the years is suddenly regenerated overnight, and we've got thriving township economies. Instead, what then happened was that the townships, which were closed to a white business later on, or Indian business or other non-township individuals, they need permits to get in the township. All of a sudden, there was this open economy. So that open economy allowed other people who are not necessarily township to come in. I'm not talking of the immigrant entrepreneurs. That will come later. But the ordinary white businesses in the country, which were restricted from the township, then they went in. Then they competed with the locals who were still, trying to build themselves up. And that was the beginning of the decline of the previously vibrant businesses in the township.
So can I say at this point
but
can I say at this point in time, it's an important one, that the apartheid system unintentionally, inadvertently, allowed the township economies to thrive. It sounds bizarre, and I understand the language I'm using here. You can never justify the apartheid system.
No, it's not bizarre. It's a reality. It's a reality. There was first a resistance to have blacks township residents as entrepreneurs, but when the reality dawned that the levels of unemployment were rocketing upwards, and there was a lot of insurrection in the townships, then there was this relaxation of apartheid legislation by the authorities. And that relaxation then gave life to black entrepreneurs in the townships, and I can count several who just blossomed. There were activities such as laundromats, which emerged in the townships when previously they were not there. Okay. And then came the Urban Foundation. The Urban Foundation injected a lot of life into the townships, and specifically the township economy, and the sanctions campaign, the European Code and the Sullivan Principles. They basically specifically focused on township businesses. So there was a lot of hype, resurrection, stimulation of the township activity during apartheid. But after apartheid, because then the barriers to entry were lifted, then all sorts of competitors went into the townships, and because the businesses in the townships were still fledgling and not robust enough to withstand competition, then there was this decline.
So here's the thought, and it's an interesting comparison, that in 1994, South Africa understood that you had to implement affirmative action. I need to rephrase. You had to implement affirmative action to redress imbalances of the past. However, affirmative action was not applied to township traders. So they did not have the legs up and the hands up, and they had to then compete in a completely free trade, and yet they were disadvantaged, and they're paying the price for that even now. Is that how you see it?
That's accurate. It's even the BBEE did not address itself to the township and village economies. They did not address themselves. It's only of late, and the pathfinders in this, or the people who really changed the trend, was David Makura's government, and that is the Gauteng government then, which came with specific interventions for the township economy in terms of the law, which is now there, the Township Economic Development Act, which now is being replicated by the Department of Small Business Development, which is having a workshop in a week's time to really have a deeper look in terms of what the township economy should be.
Okay, so now we have a situation where I would think, without having actual facts with me, that anecdotally there's a sense that the vast majority of the spaza shops, not the big businesses, the spaza shops in townships are owned by foreign nationals. Whether they are documented or not is another conversation, but they effectively foreign nationals now resident in South Africa, right?
Yes.
Should that change?
Obviously, I mean, it can change. You can't have immigrant entrepreneurs, I mean, come and own 80% of the Soweto economy, as is the case right now. And the bulk of them are not documented. They are not paying tax. They are bringing in contraband goods. They are selling bad stuff to our children, and we've had a lot of children dying. So obviously, I mean, that situation cannot be allowed to continue, and that's why I welcome the recent intervention by the president and the various provincial governments and municipalities.
Okay, I want to ask you about how then we go about the transfer from 80% foreign national owned to 80% Soweto owned in Soweto, which we'll get to right after this.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture, delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom, reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Center. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
All right, let's go back then to our conversation with Tami Mazwai, just as we wrap up, right? So if we're saying that 80% of stores or spaza shops are township owned, and rather foreign national owned, and that's got to change, what do you think would be the right process? I'm interested in the processes, because you also, as government or local residents, you also want to manage the process well. How do you suggest we go about it?
Well, I'm just as concerned as you are, because I don't believe that I don't believe that there's a strategy there, whether at provincial level or at city level or even at national level, to go about this gargantuan task. Because the reality is that, I mean, whilst residents are angry at the immigrant entrepreneurs, but as the weeks or the days go on, the same residents will find that they need this and that and that and that. So you've got to put in a specific strategy in place, and not just do this and that and that and that. That doesn't work. I mean, I see the current rate on the current rates, whether it's for permits or for contraband goods or even for in terms of health. There's got to be some form of coordination in terms of that, and also to say that how are we going to then to identify the locals who are going to, because it's not every person who's an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
It's not every person. So how are you going to then to identify the people who are prepared to take the risk and now take the gap that is going to come when these people are really are gradually, taken out of circulation.
Okay.
It is going to be a gargantuan task because some of them have got legal permits to be here. Some of them are legally here. Some of them, have got strong relationships with their communities. And then, of course, there are the scoundrels who are selling bad food to our children and so on. So it's not a cut and dried, black and white situation. It's going to need a multi-dimensional and comprehensive strategy that is going to look at what is going to be in the interest of the localities themselves, because you don't want a situation that as you are taking out these foreigners and then other non-Sowetans or non-township residents get into the gap, through get into the gap and so on, because there are some whites, some whites might say, look, we'll go in now because there's this gap, some Indians, some colors, and so on. And then the problem just takes on another.
Absolutely. Well, here's a quick answer to this one that we need to wrap up, right? As part of these consultations that you talk about, and I would be on side for that, do you also foresee a possibility that amongst the documented foreign nationals and the locals, let's say Soweto, for example, that there's a greater collaboration in terms of joint ownership? That means for a foreign national to want to trade in the township, there has to be a local with a majority shareholding. Do you see that partnership developing? It certainly has happened in other countries. Just a quick thought on that.
Yeah, no, it is. No, that's a reality. And partnerships, you can never, you never know how people get into relationships. All that I'm saying is that if at all a local gets into a relationship with an immigrant, then that immigrant his papers must be 100%, and he must be compliant in all respects, and he must be subject to the laws of our country.
Okay, and that's where we're going to leave it.
Otherwise, I'm not going to say that no, a Soweto resident can't get into a partnership with somebody from Zimbabwe or Zambia. Now that is now basically interfering with the people's constitutional rights.
Good point. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time. Really fascinating conversation from Dr. Tami Mazwai, and by the way, we'll have a podcast of that conversation up ASAP, so look forward to that. Lots to take out of that. Right, let's talk about the All African Alliance movement taking the MK party to court.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Think of boxing, your gloves are off as a powerful church group and Jacob Zuma's MK party head to court amid accusations of betrayal. Now, the showdown between the two parties comes after 15 members of the All African Alliance movement were fired from MK's parliamentary caucus earlier this year. Remember that story? Well, let's find out what the position now is with Bishop Meshach Thebe, the Secretary General of the All African Alliance movement. Thank you for your time, Bishop Thebe.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So, give us the backstory in terms of your understanding of this and the way forward in terms of the actions now taken.
Are you referring to the court matter?
Yes, that's right. Well, first, what are the feelings, the emotions, and then the court matter in terms of what would be the bottom line to this?
No, the reality is that prior to the national elections that we had in the country, we had a working relationship or an agreement with the MK party, which was concluded between the leaders of both parties in this particular case. But then shortly after the 29th of May, after the national elections, then the first batch of the leaders of AAAM received letters of expulsion from Umkhonto weSizwe party, of which that included the Archbishop Tsekedi, myself, and Laki Khate. So those were the AAAM leaders in that top six that were there. So those were the first casualties in terms of that.
So you're contesting the expulsion. I mean, do you see a legal case for doing just that? Because is it a case of loss of income? On what basis? I'm just trying to think about, political parties are able to shift people around as they see it.
No, it's not about the income. It's about the integrity in terms of the agreement. You see. So it's not about the income. So let me based on the income. There was an agreement that was signed between the two parties that this is how we are going to do, and this is how we are going to have our governance or our cooperation in terms of working together. So the fact of the matter is that the MK party, under the leadership of former President of the Republic of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, were not loyal and honest to the religious community and the royal families of the Republic of South Africa at large. I'm talking of the kings and the queens, the headsmen, and then the traditional leaders in total. Because remember, the All-African Alliance movement is an embodiment of all the formations within the civil society in South Africa. That is now your religious leaders, your traditional healers, and then your chiefs and your queens, your kings as well. All of them inclusive there. The African spirituality churches, the international spirituality churches also embodies the formation of the All-African Alliance movement, both nationally and then others that might have migrated.
I see one of your spokespersons have been quoted as saying, we made the MK popular through our numbers and supported the party. The Zuma family was completely bankrupt before we came out to support them. Now they are arrogant and power hungry. And then Zuma's daughter runs it like a family cult, and we feel very used. I mean, do you support that statement very quickly?
Well, very openly and frankly, that is the truth. There's nothing wrong. That is the truth, and that is how we found the matters when we first engaged with President Zuma.
Okay, and the last part again being quoted: "We are going to expose everything." Is there a lot more that we don't know?
Come again.
The quote from the senior source saying, "We are going to expose everything." Is there a lot more about Jacob Zuma and the MK party that we don't know?
Yes, definitely. On Friday, the 15th, we are having a press briefing, and we are inviting all the media houses to come and attend to that. And that is what we are now going to expose and reveal everything, the journey that we have taken the MK party and how we reached to the point where we are at the moment.
Okay, can't wait for Friday is what I think many people will be saying. Bishop Meshach Tebe, the Secretary General of the All African Alliance Movement. Appreciate you connecting with us here on the National Pulse. It's 5:30. Here's the news with Greg House.
Quick look at the headlines of this half hour. The first Deputy Secretary General of the ANC has called for patience and calm as protests are underway in Mozambique. The SAFA President, Danny Jordaan, and two co-accused have been granted bail by the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court. And the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation has co-chaired the Egypt-South Africa political consultations with his Egyptian counterpart in Cairo. More on that story and other news at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 westbound in Eldorado Park has a crash near Golden Highway. The R28 Paardekraal Road westbound in Krugersdorp is queuing towards Silver Star Casino. Quagga Road northbound in Centurion has delays towards Main Road in Pretoria. The N4 Witbank Highway westbound has delays towards the N1 Highway, and Eskampa Drive northbound has delays towards Moot Street. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a crash before Spaghetti Junction. The N3 westbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. The N11 has roadworks reported with traffic restrictions north of Ladysmith. Chris Hani Road westbound is queuing towards the N2 Highway, and Umbilo Road southbound slow moving on the on-ramp to the M7 westbound. In Cape Town, Plain Street is closed in front of the National Parliament building. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The N1 outbound is slow moving towards Kuburg Interchange. The M5 southbound is queuing towards Racecourse Road exit, and the N7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound queuing at Voortrekker Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
So I said so the other day to me, hello, summer. And it means cricket, right?
It does. Down in Centurion, the Proteas, they won the toss and they elected to bowl first against India at the Centurion Park today. South Africa looking to do better with bat in hand and hoping to use Centurion's bounce to their advantage. In terms of the score update, India are currently sitting on 82 for 1 after 6 overs. Then in football, Kaizer Chiefs chairman Kaizer Motaung has welcomed a 2 million rand gift for his contribution to the development of football in the country from the PSL. In a tribute at the start of the organization's general meeting in Sandton today, Dr. Irvin Khoza honored Motaung for his leadership as someone who played a pivotal role in the formation of the PSL. And Motaung says that the story needs to be told.
Well, obviously, we've come a very, very, very long way. And this league, obviously, when we put this league together, we maneuvered in terms of, we worked together as a team. And he even when he was not in, chairman of Pirates at the time, he was with us every time when we were fighting with Sanfa at the time, where we had to secede from Sanfa because they wanted to run both amateur football and professional football. So our journey with the chairman has been very exciting, and it's been very, very, very eye-opening because we went through quite a lot. It needs time for us to actually put something together. But obviously we can write our own history ourselves and not wait for somebody to come and write it for us. So we need to write our history in terms of where we come from, because this has been our life through and through.
Well, still staying with football, while aware that he might not get his Bafana Bafana debut just as yet, goalkeeper Sage Stevens says that his call-up is about learning. The 33-year-old has been included in the squad to face Uganda and South Sudan for the AFCON qualifiers, and he says where he made his debut for Morocco Swallows at the Dobson Stadium more than a decade ago, Stevens is very emotional.
It's been a week for me, an emotional week, spending it with loved ones and family. Funny enough that the path has led me to this stadium where it all starts, If I had to script it myself, I don't think I would have scripted it any better to make my first, call up at the stadium where I played my first football game for the team that I played my first game for. So very blessed and very honored to have this privilege.
Well, then keeping up to date with the Mamelodi Sundowns ladies who are currently facing CBE FC of Ethiopia in the CAF Women's Champions League. The match, the last time I checked, was in the 70th minute, and they are leading 4-0. Kadiete scoring a brace, Rabale 1, and Daweti just scoring a goal over them. Then in rugby, Evan Elizabeth says that he's looking forward to reigniting his rivalry with Maro Itoje when the Springboks face England at Twickenham this Saturday. Elizabeth has battled with Itoje many times in his career, and their forthcoming clash promises to be another fierce chapter in their storied competition. Meanwhile, Andre Pollard says that he expects a tough England side as they have competitive leagues.
No, listen, mate, I think it's helped a lot. I've always wanted to go to England because I think it's a very competitive league and it's a certain style of rugby there. With the winter months, you don't have a choice really. But listen, no, it's been great. I've learned a lot. I've worked with some very good coaches over there. And you learn from the players there because they've played it their whole lives and they know exactly how to play those conditions. And we get exposed to a little bit in the Southern Hemisphere, but not as much as they do. So they've got a very good understanding of it. And it's more of a chess game up here in the north. It's always a tight game. So we try to outsmart each other every single weekend in the Premiership or in the Northern Hemisphere tour. So that's something.
In marathon news, registrations are open for the 2025 Comrades Marathon's Race for Charity fundraising program. The charity program offers runners the opportunity to raise funds for worthy causes and improve their seeding. Now, when entering, participants will have the option of joining Race for Charity before completing an entry, and the 98th Comrades will be a down run starting at Pietermaritzburg City Hall. In motorsport, in a surprise move, Formula One race driver Niels Wittich Whitich has quit his role with immediate effect. It is rare for a race driver to leave during the season. However, the FIA did not elaborate on the reasoning behind Whitich's departure. He will be replaced by Rui Marquez at the upcoming Las Vegas Grand Prix, which takes place on the 23rd of November. And Marquez has served as a race director for F2 and F3. On that note, it is a wrap from my side.
So just a quick one so we understand South Africa, India. So they're playing a T20 series now. And
Yes.
then how many more to go? Tonight?
And then there's on Friday another one.
And then?
And then there's other nations, Sri Lanka.
And they're not playing test matches? Or are they? Over December?
No.
Oh my goodness, the world is indeed changed. Remember Boxing Day test matches, New Year's Day test matches at the Wanderers? Not Wanderers, somebody will correct me, at Newlands. That's the tradition. Newlands, and then the MCG at Boxing Day, I think it is. That's in Australia, of course. Okay, more sport and test matches when they come up tomorrow.
Weeknights on S3 are anything but ordinary. BBC Primetime brings you the best of British television from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Love a good murder mystery? Then Death in Paradise Season 3 will keep you entertained with a series of impossible murders on the beautiful Caribbean island of St. Marie. Monday to Wednesday at 9 p.m. Channel your inner vroom with Top Gear Season 25 and 26, Monday to Wednesday at 10 p.m. Channel your best entertainment with BBC Primetime only on S3. Open up.
We do not tolerate any kind of discrimination. Disability Awareness Month 2024. Only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
By the way, we were chatting to Desiree Chauke from the SABC News. She's a senior producer, anchor there. She's a recipient of the Adcock Ingram Sponsors of Brave Journalism Awards, right? So we'll talk to her around 10 to 6 in that feature we called Winning, right? In the meantime, you know this, Eskom has made it easier for you to recode your meter. So the deadline, 24th of November. If you have not recoded before then, well, you have a problem. So what do you need to be doing? You need to get your prepaid electricity tokens, and Eskom has made this process easy for you now. They have pre-coded all the meters. What you need to do is recode your meter yourself. It's easy. All you have to do is get to an Eskom-approved electricity outlet, buy the credit token, and if you're still stuck, then Eskom's teams are on standby to help you.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, so every day around this time, well, Jimmy Moyaha gets ready for his show, the SAFM Market Update from 6 to 7. But to take us there, Jimmy, good chatting to you as always. What's moving markets today?
Good evening, Ashraf. Good evening to the listeners. Today we're going to be taking a look at some data events that came out. We got US inflation numbers. We did expect that the inflation print would tick a little bit higher. It did come in bang in line with expectations, so the market not really surprised there, but we're going to look at the implications of that on how we look at other markets going forward. In particular, I've got an interest in taking a look at the Rand. Since the inflation print has come out, that Rand has has gone back up to 18 Rand and 18 cents. Not looking good at all for the South Africans looking to exchange dollars at this stage. But we will get into those those movements and other movements a little bit later. For now, let me give you a quick summary of the other topics that we're going to be taking a look at on the show. We're going to be speaking to Emira Property Fund around their 6 months results. They gave us an update on how their new financial year has started. We're going to speak to the CEO and get a sense of what they are up to. It looks like there's been some portfolio changes in terms of their portfolio mix on the property side, and we're going to take a look at that with them. Then we've also got a conversation with the Government Employees Pension Fund. I'm going to speak to the principal officer of the GEPF around their results. They put out results for the year ended March 2024, and I caught up with the principal officer last year when they did this as well. We're going to get a sense of what's happening in the continent's largest actually, the continent's largest asset manager would be the PIC that manages the GEPF fund. But it looks as though assets under management have grown to 2.36 trillion rand. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at the 6 billion rands worth of impairments that have gone through over the last financial year. And we're going to get a sense of how the GEPF has performed for the 1.2 million South Africans that it manages or that it holds funds for from an investment point of view. Then we've also got a conversation as part of our executive lounge with the founder of a company called, or an organization rather, called the Township Entrepreneurs Alliance. We're going to get a sense of what he envisioned when he built that particular organization and what he gets up to when he's not running the organization. But as I said, before we get to all of those news, the markets have had, I don't want to say a good day, but and that's primarily because it's very difficult to say a good day. A lot of the markets have been flat with very minor positive gains in the likes of mainland China, up about 0.5%. European markets all in the red. DAX down 0.5%. CAC 40 down 0.4%. The FTSE in London down 0.1% as well there. The local markets not faring much better. Resources flat. Industrials down 0.5%. Financials down 0.2%. All share down 0.5%, the top 40 down 0.5%, the rand 0.5% weaker against the dollar at 18 Rand 18 cents, against the British pound 23 Rand and 8 cents, against the euro 19 Rand and 22 cents. One Australian dollar though is a little bit better. It will now cost you 11 Rand 79 instead of the 11 Rand 80 it would have cost you yesterday. If you're looking at commodities prices, gold price $2,600 an ounce flat from this time yesterday. Brent crude $71.07 a barrel. Yes, closer to $70 than 75, but with a weaker rand, it doesn't really make much of a difference for us. Platinum pricing still steady, $945. Palladium pricing $938 an ounce. We've got lots to dig into, and the fact that Bitcoin is back above $90,000 a coin, not 80,000, but $90,000 a coin, means we are getting ever closer to that 2 million rand a mark for a Bitcoin. Right now, it's at 1.7 million rand.
Okay, and then to end with, Jimmy, just a quick one, soundbite, masterclass on what is revolving credit facility.
It is a facility provided to you by a financial institution. In simple English, think of a personal loan and think of a credit card, and then think of the love child between the two. You get the best of both. So on the loan side of it, you typically get a higher amount afforded to you from a personal loan perspective, but you get the flexibility of a credit card where when you pay down on what you have used, you can re-borrow from that same facility. A personal loan doesn't necessarily let you re-borrow, but a revolving facility does. It can be a useful tool in the business sense when you are looking to balance out cash flow issues, where you might have a timing issue that says a supplier is going to pay you on the 15th, but you need to pay your creditors on the 14th, and you have a bit of a timing delay. You dip into the credit facility, pay off the supplier, and then replenish that when you get paid. Very useful tool.
Okay, perfect. So you enjoy your show, 6 to 7. It comes up soon, followed by sport. In fact, Tumi hosts the sports show today, so looking forward to listening into her as well. Right. Okay, let's get to some of your thoughts. We're going to play some voice notes on some of the biggest issues that you think has moved the national pulse, and there's so many of them. I tell you what, that's why sometimes it's not like we don't want to play them or take your calls. I mean, the good news is we have so many people who want to respond, and that's just fabulous, right? Here's one on tax.
Ashraf, great show. I think your idea of whites-only tax got me very hot under the collar, and then I just couldn't stop laughing, because I know you can't be seriously suggesting, with corruption completely out of control in our country, billions have been stolen by this ANC. I would rather go to jail than send them one more rand to be stolen. So that ship has sailed a long time ago, Mike Newlands.
Okay, it's 10 to 6, so it's homeward bound, Mike, and you laugh, I can laugh too. Right. Further comments on the spaza shops?
Good afternoon, SAFM. It's quite sad that the government has been doing the bare minimum with regards to the food poisoning and the unregulated spaza shops. When it comes to the zamazamas, you've got military, you've got operations costing millions, because those zamazamas are disturbing in the business of the white capital monopoly. But the people that are dying with the food poisoning are the poor people's kids, and they really don't care. Why would they care? It is the poor people that are dying. It matters not to them.
Okay, and there's more about the MK party.
Ashraf Yalezo here from East London to Mthatha. A quick one. I think the person taking MK and Zuma to court are just wasting their time. They joined MK knowing very well that Jacob Zuma does not keep his word. Thanks, Ashraf.
Interesting. Let's see what happens at that presser, isn't it?
No. Ashraf, what time is this revelation where they're going to expose MK? On Friday, what time? What time, Efraim? Please, let us know. Before this guy, you let him go out of the studio. What time, please, on Friday?
All right. Okay. Don't have sleepless nights now. We'll find out what time. I don't have an exact time, but we will cover that no matter what, and we'll let you know. I can assure you of that. Right.
Hi, Ashraf. Good afternoon to you and to SA listeners. No, Ashraf, you don't need to feel pity for those guys. There's no need to feel pity for those guys. The minister is right. They will come out, they will see there's no need to help a criminal. A criminal is a criminal. They will suffer their consequences. Thank you.
So we're talking about the illegal miners, the zamazamas. Now, interesting one. Here's a comment from Prof. Thuli Madonsela. She's tweeted saying, I understand her to be saying government will not send down help down the shafts, but will wait at the entrances to arrest the zamazamas. She further says, if someone wants to help, they are free to go down. Where is the shocking language? Shouldn't civil society be directing its rage at the mining houses that leaves these spaces unrehabilitated and be pushing them to help resolve the criminality and safety emergencies that have resulted from their impropriety? Does Thuli Madonsela have a point?
Reigning Miss South Africa, Mia Leroux, is in Mexico City to compete for the Miss Universe 2024 crown. Miss Universe 2024 will be broadcast live on S3 from 4 a.m. Sunday, the 17th of November, with a first repeat later the same day at 8 p.m. We urge you to vote for Mia on missuniverse.choicely.com. As the contestant with the most votes gets an automatic place in the semi-finals. No DNA, just RSA. So channel your inner champion with Miss Universe 2024. Sunday, the 17th of November at 4 a.m. on S3. Open up.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture, delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom. Reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Centre. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, we end the show with a feature we called Winning, right? And that could be an individual, an institution, an organization, a business that's top of their game, and the plan that hopefully that will inspire you. Now, I spoke about this a few days ago. Last week, I attended the Adcock Ingram OTC Sponsors of Brave Journalism Media Awards, okay? They didn't give it to one person. It was like an acknowledgement of about 30, 40 people in the media fraternity, predominantly broadcast media, I would think. And it's like, hey, we see you, we like what you're doing. So, of course, I mean, I mentioned it. I was one of them and really appreciative of that. People like Sakina Commando on the show as well. Another together with Kathy Motlatlana too, right? But another person, amongst many others, Leanne Manners comes to mind too. Another person who was a recipient is Desiree Chowke. She's an SABC News senior producer and I think off-air at the moment and anchoring. Who knows, that may happen soon once again. But for now, let's celebrate. Desiree, good chatting to you and nice to talk to a winner.
Win it, right?
Yeah. How does it feel? I mean, you know, it's a strange thing. It's not just one win, it's a collective. But when you look at the group of people that you're a part of, I mean, it must make you feel good and an endorsement even of how you're seen in the media spaces, isn't it?
So good afternoon to you and your listeners. And, you know, because I'm now in the background, you kind of feel like everybody's forgotten about you. So it's nice it kind of feels like you're being pulled out of the woodworks to say, hey, we still want you up front, come up, we see you, we recognize you. And it's just an absolute honor, really. And as you say, being recognized among some of South Africa's brave journalists, we know that production makes the work go on air, but the heroes are really your Calvin Rivers, your Griselda Lewis, your Mahadetla, who are, you know, on the ground covering the real lived experiences of South Africans. Big story now is the poisoning of children, and our journalists who are out there covering this story are the real heroes. But still, one is still feels very honored to just be remembered.
And can you remember what Katie Catapota said about you when she handed over the award to you?
What did she say?
Well, I don't know. I'm asking you if you can remember. I mean, I know what she said about. I know what she said about me. She said, "Ashraf, you've been off air. You've come back, and we love your show." On SM, I know that. What can you remember? You can't, of course, about you, right?
So this is my second time around. The first time I was honored for the work I did on air as an anchor, and I know that this time around it's for the production work we do, you know, the production side of just gathering all those stories that all the field reporters go out and collect, and we make sure that we package them well to go out on air. And this time it was, I think I was recognized for that role. I previously executive produced a show called The Agenda in the Morning, which I used to anchor as well. And I'm now on a show called The Late Edition on SABC News. And I imagine it's the work we're doing there.
So tell us more about, you know, the work that you put into The Late Edition, notwithstanding the fact that you're not the face of the show, but you do important work behind the scenes. So what is it that makes an executive producer tick?
Literally about editorial decisions. You are in meetings all day long, talking to editors, talking to reporters, talking to management about what are the big stories of the day. And then from there you decide what are the stories that are going to go into your show. Our show comes on at 2100 hours in the evening until midnight. So it's literally a wrap of the day's big stories. So you look at a story that has been a big story for the day and you take it forward. For argument's sake, today's story is, the big one, is the Lebombo border gate with Mozambique, where truckers are stuck there because of the ongoing protest in Mozambique, just in terms of their post-election dissonance in that country. And that's the big story of the day. So you carry it forward to say, okay, the border has been locked. What now? You speak to the border officials about, are you going to reopen it? When? How has the economy been affected as a result of this closure? Those kind of decisions you're taking as an executive producer.
So in many ways, it's a negotiation with the decision makers, the key news makers of the day, but
It's
also a negotiation with your own
situation.
team as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a multi-stakeholder situation, but most importantly, your team, where you have to decide on roles and who's going to organize guests, who's going to package the stories that are coming in, what sort of narratives are we sending out with regards to the stories that are going out for the day, for all those decisions.
And, you know, this feature is called Winning. What gets you winning?
Ashraf, I've just been recognized as a brave journalist. Somebody thinks I'm brave. What do you think?
Well, yes, of course you are. I mean, that's why you have it. But is there something in your characteristics that you've that has made you being successful that you could share with others?
I think I'm interested. I'm curious. And I'm really interested in the South African story. I mean, our big story right now is the results of the elections and the GNO and GNU, and how it's unfolding. The big story is it going to hold? Is it going to fall apart? So just curious about those developments and where they're taking the country. Is the GNU good for the economy? Some analysts seem to suggest that the economy is starting to perform better now that there's a GNU. So it's curiosity and being interested and just wanting to know the South African story and where this democracy is going. We're 30 years into our democracy now. And is it maturing or is it unraveling?
Yes, I suppose it's a curiosity and then being able to deliver on that curiosity to your audience. Well, I mean, our time's up for the show today, but your time up on air and the work that you do is not up. Long may that continue. Long may that continue. And, it's our way of acknowledging, and we just love what you do. And keep on winning at all that you do. Perfect.
Lovely talking to you, Ashraf.
Desiree Chaka. Of course, thanks for listening to the show, because you told me that the other day. I much appreciate it. And you are connected yourself.
Absolutely. And congratulations for winning yourself.
Well, thank you. Well, you are now very much connected to the National Pulse. Okay, Desiree Chaka, thank you for your time. We'll do it again some other time. It's the news now at 6 o'clock. Here's Greg Rose.
Thank you again, Ashraf. In this news update, a call for calm in Mozambique, and Safas Jordan is granted bail. Good evening. The first Deputy Secretary-General of the ANC, Nomvula Mokonyane, has called for patience and calm as protests are underway in Mozambique. This follows the results from last month's election, won by the ruling Frelimo party, which has seen pushback from opposition parties. Mokonyane says there should be a call for the respect of the rule of law to ensure that the official announcement is made peacefully.
We were in Mozambique, we saw what happened, and we believe that, of course, just like in any other election, it is not easy for everybody to embrace the government. But what we must really guard against is a situation where the outcome of the elections or the delay now towards the official announcement is used to cast aspersions